kid that's in college that he's paying next to nothing, but he's like getting really into all this stuff, and he's got a new piece of tech, and I'm going to start trying to get clips going and all that stuff.
All right. Show. Well, welcome. Hey, everybody.
Oh, we're here.
Hey, I gotcha.
Are we in there? Yeah.
we are.
Yeah, we're not talking about the
butt bleaching.
the rated.
Butt bleaching.
It wasn't really
You
butt. It
would
was.
bring that
It was
up.
more. That was the first. That was what brought it all up.
Okay, so for reference, people, we were talking about redox potential because all three of us sitting here are on methylene blue. We're not necessarily recommending that you do it. Do your own research. Always do. Talk to your doctor about it. Most doctors won't talk about it, but Dr. Roy is here talking about it.
Yeah.
So we were talking.
I've had very good success with people that I put on that. People that are ADHD or tired all the time. Put them on methylene blue and they perk up.
Well, I tell you, you commented about you're not needing a nap.
Yeah.
I have historically just napped just to refresh my brain because, like, you hit that afternoon after eating lunch and whatever, and like everybody gets a dip because your body, sugar hits your body and then you hit a wall. But since I've been on methylene blue, like even when I try to lay down a nap, I really can't fall asleep for very long. Or
this afternoon, I did take a nap, but only because I was awake at 3:30 this morning because I was sleeping in a hotel.
Yeah, if you're in the Evansville area and you're listening to us, we've had some pretty significant storms coming through here of late. It's been kind of a strange year.
We've got some more.
First, all the ice, and now we're in the middle of a deluge. I don't know if we're still going to get the 10 plus inches that they talked about.
No, it's supposed to rain though for the next couple of days, but nothing as bad as we had a couple of days ago.
It seems like we didn't get some of what we were supposed to get on that first.
That was less than 1 inch that we
what
had.
She said. No, I didn't get much rain down where I live, but we got some wind, and of course the sirens were going off like crazy. What was that, Thursday night or Wednesday night?
Wednesday night. The siren. The siren for the east side is about 50 yards from my house. So
probably have to plug your ears.
And the dogs go nuts. Over that.
Yeah, we were in the. I don't have a basement. Wish I did. Next house will have a basement, but I was in the bathroom. That's our middle room that has like no windows and stuff. Is the guest bathroom. So we were in there a couple different times that night.
Well, we went down to the basement and actually decided to sleep down there. The power went out at 9 p.m. on Wednesday night, and when we woke up the next morning, there was 2.5 inches of water all over down there.
That's what you said. You've got some wood and wood. I mean, there's some stuff down there.
All that. The carpet is toast.
Yeah. Our old podcast room needed an arc.
Yep.
So you just now got your power back.
Got the power back at 9:30 this morning. And because we went to Drury and slept there last night with dogs. Well, so they said they're pet friendly. They said, "Oh, you can have one small dog." Fuck,
Hey, watch yourself.
Bill is like 86 pounds.
Fuck.
It's like Pfeiffer.
Yeah,
it's a PF.
It doesn't count. It doesn't count if you say it like that.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, they've just about got all the water out of the basement now, and of course they're going to start ripping up carpet and
probably taking some drywall. Is there any drywall down there? Or is it all paneling?
It's behind the wood paneling is drywall.
Yeah.
So they've got to take about a foot of that.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Are you going to insurance it?
Oh yeah, I've already talked to the guy, the adjuster for the flood insurance. And he says, if you don't have standing water in your backyard, it won't count. Well, guess what? I took pictures of standing water in my backyard.
Interesting.
And then I guess the homeowners is going to take some of that. So anyway.
Well, welcome back. We've been
make sure to have flood insurance.
We were off last week for spring break. I was out of town. I don't know. I don't think you guys went anywhere.
I think it was significant. I was in St. Louis for a while for my daughter's birthday weekend celebration.
That's cool.
We don't celebrate that.
Well, let me tell you, driving to Florida over spring break. Every time we go down there during spring break, we tell ourselves we'll never do it again. And
especially on the way home.
Yeah, Shonda was complaining all the way on that, putting up Facebook.
That's what my wife and I were watching. We had popcorn. We were waiting for her next post.
Yeah.
It's like, holy cow.
Well, I mean, in her defense, she had a fractured pelvis and a broken arm. And so every time we hit any kind of a bump or have to hit brakes or whatever, she's, very sensitive still. But we made it. We made it back. And, man, it was nice. It was sunny every day.
Good.
And we got in the sun. First, we were doing the Dr. Jack thing. As soon as the sun came up, we were looking at the sun. Where we stay, it was south of St. Augustine, and sun comes up over the ocean, and it's right in your window where the bed's right there. So it's right in your face. And then the back side is overlooking the intercoastal. Yeah. So the sun goes down over the intercoastal, and so you got water up and down. It is the most incredible thing. So, but we're thinking about flying next year because it's just a little too much. But anyway, there's been a lot going on, and with all the storms, we've had some center point issues again. Yeah. I want to shout out to all the line workers, the people that come in from all over the place to help in these times, especially whenever the weather is still bad. They're out there working. Anytime we complain about center point, please know that if you're a line worker, if you're out there grinding, you're not one of the people that we're complaining about.
That's right.
I started thinking about, and Travis, I don't know that I found a really clear number, but you think about how many households there are in just Vandenberg County, Warwick County, surrounding areas, and I kind of figure about maybe $150 to $250 per person per household is kind of maybe what's your utility bill end up a month?
Ours is like usually if you average it out over the year, probably around $300 to $350.
Okay, so yours not bad.
Mine's a little more than that.
Yours a little smaller, and ours is a lot more. Okay, so maybe my numbers are off, but I was trying to get an idea of how much money per month CenterPoint gets from our area.
Well, what they did say was that 22,000 people did not have any power after Wednesday, and they were sending me texts and saying we're working real hard, and you just gotta wait.
Well, and it was really bad for anyone again here in our area, the tri-state southern Indiana area, with all the ice storms we had. I mean, the outages were even more. And you just, I don't know about the infrastructure piece of it, what causes the outages to happen so often. We've often talked about why aren't the lines underground?
Oh, that's big money.
Well, it's big money, but how many times when does it start paying off to potentially run them under?
Probably 10 years, and that's too long. So,
So approximately 52,300 households in Evansville Metro.
Evansville Metro?
Just Evansville, Maine. Sorry, not Metro. Evansville city limits, Evansville.
So just some quick math.
So just say 52,000, my guess.
This phone doesn't work whenever I have it plugged in. So some quick math will run 52,000 times. Let's say average of
400 maybe?
400. But I think it's maybe a little more than that.
It may be.
So it's almost $21 million per month.
Yep.
Is how much revenue Vectron gets. Not Vectron, sorry. That was a
slip. What are you, like 2015 or something?
CenterPoint gets $21 million per month from this area. And so, I know they're in business to make money, and we know they do. I just, we need more options and hopefully technology. We're trying to get people. I've been trying to get an attorney on. I think we're actually working another podcast angle. I'm going to go and talk to him with a different videographer and everything, and kind of have question and answer with him on that side. But I just I feel for all the local people who we have such a fairly expensive cost of living. Evansville used to be a place you could live fairly cheap, and our energy has definitely cost us.
It's still one of the least expensive places in the U.S. But it's funny. I've got a lot of friends that live up in the Elderfeld area, and one family was hit real hard. It blew up their garage. Debris fell on their cars and everything, and then somebody a mile or two away had nothing. Mm-hmm. So I checked with all the people that lived up in Elberfeld after I saw the stuff online of that collapsed garage.
Yeah, there were pockets of, I think, much stronger straight line winds.
Yeah.
And a lot of like pop-up tornadoes.
Yeah.
Because we thought everything was clear and we were like getting all calm. And then next thing you know, I think we were watching 14 or something and they came back on and don't get your basements right now.
Well, they went into some kind of safe room there. We were watching 14 News, and at one point they left. They kept the radar up, and they used like wireless mics, and they went into some type of safe room because Jeff Lyons was like, "We're in the safe room right now. We're sorry we're not on TV. We've got the radar up. When we feel it's safe to come out." And they were in there for, I don't know, 5 minutes or something, waiting for it to go overhead.
That's the thing. They came and went pretty fast.
Yeah, it was a fast movement, 60 miles, anywhere from 40 to 60 miles an hour over time.
Yeah,
I have a little cost of living here for you. Cost of living in Evansville is about 6% lower than the national average. It is 2% higher than the Indiana state average, so it's a little more expensive to live in Evansville versus like maybe rural.
And it's because we're on Center Point, and most people up north are on Duke, which is significantly cheaper.
That's true. This is something that's interesting to me, though. When I looked it up, housing costs in Evansville are 24% cheaper than the U.S. national average.
Yeah.
Housing is cheaper on average in Evansville.
I know it's a lot cheaper than West Coast and bigger cities for sure.
And then utilities are 11% higher than the U.S. average here.
Yeah.
But the 24% cheaper housing average is kind of crazy.
The other thing that's more expensive for just about everybody is healthcare.
Yeah.
The hospital system's just really, really raking in a lot of dough. And of course, they don't have to pay taxes. They don't have to pay, anything.
Good Lord, this is saying the average house is $367,000. If that's 24% cheaper than the U.S. average, then what the heck's the U.S. average? Like $430,000 or something?
The average price
probably.
It says the average home price is around $367,000, but it says that
that can't be right.
No. Because
average home price.
I mean, in this area, yes, maybe. But,
median income is $58,293.
Median
okay. Household.
Yeah, that's
not individual. That's
there you go. That's probably right.
So anyway, just a little bit of.
Yeah, well, so that kind of Dr. Roy, you kind of teed it up. One of the things I feel like you and I and now Travis need to continue to shine light on and talk about regularly is the lack of response and or change of potential policy moving forward for our local health agencies, departments, and hospitals. This isn't a popular subject. This isn't a fun subject, but if another pandemic or something else hits the fan, we're going to watch a bunch of clips today, and it's talking about trust of the people that people have in medical.
It's gone way down.
Trust in doctors, trust in vaccinations. These are all things that we need trust in. I don't come on here and show clips to scare people, to stop them from doing things, because I don't want them to be safe. I want people to be safe. Yeah. I want to be assured that the things that we're being told and the things that are being done are safe. And our local health department, just every city, every county has its own local health department who should be able to make their own decisions. And to me,
they don't.
They're all in unison. We notice
they're all looking to either the state health department or to the CDC, and they're just parroting back what they're doing.
Well, and just out of the gate, I'll tell you, I'm super right now frustrated with Trump and RFK, and it's only because the vaccine, the mRNA vaccines, is the thing. Like we need to, there needs to be more talk of that right now.
The attorneys probably have gotten into this because I believe there were some pretty stiff contracts between the manufacturers and the Health and Human Services, and it might cost a whole bunch of money to break those. So that's probably why they didn't do it on day one.
So can you restate what you just said and explain to me again why you think it's not?
Okay, I believe that the Health and Human Services has contracts with the manufacturers of the COVID shots and also some of the things that they're putting out there to give that. Like, in the one that we'll watch a little earlier, they said as soon as the immunizations for COVID came out, they quit, using the intravenous. What do I want to say? The intravenous antibodies. Because I know people who, at the beginning, people who had COVID and recovered from it were willing to donate their plasma for somebody else to give them the immunization against that. And then all of a sudden, as soon as they got the vaccines on, that all went away. And that's crazy. They should have kept that around. And they said, oh, no, the vaccines are great. If you take the vaccine, you will not get sick. Bullshit.
Yeah, well, I mean, most importantly and scary to me now, and I almost posted yesterday, but I'm going to probably post tomorrow, like if you're pregnant now, or you're thinking about getting pregnant, or if you have very, very young kids, I personally feel you should do your own due diligence. You should really dig into as much information as you can about all the vaccines, first and foremost, the childhood vaccine schedule. But specifically, I am most concerned about the mRNA and
given
COVID
to kids,
being inserted into the already significant 72 vaccines or whatever that we have. I think all of them need to be scrutinized very closely, and we need to have data on them. We need to be looking at them. Not saying we should cancel any of them. You've been promoting vaccines and giving vaccines your entire career. What I'm saying is, I just don't. If I had a good friend or a daughter or a son or a family member who was thinking about getting pregnant or was getting pregnant, I would be sending them all the information that you and I have talked about and say, ultimately, you're going to do what you think is best, but here's what's happening to all the kids. We don't even know what it's going to do in 10 years.
The one immunization that pregnant mothers should take is rubella, because if you get rubella while you're carrying a baby, that baby will be born with significant deformities.
Once again, I don't think Chad's necessarily saying no to vaccines. I think it's just when they take a vaccine that we currently trust and then they add more shit to it,
adjuvants.
That's more the concern.
Or multiple vaccines altogether, and each one of them has their own different tolerances of levels of mercury and different things in it, aluminum. And so, I mean, spread them out as much as we can. So since you and I have talked last about hepatitis B, it's actually become a really hot topic. I know Tucker's talked about it a lot. There's been a lot of things going on, and I think the talking is good. So I'm not here to say you shouldn't get hepatitis B. What I say is you shouldn't get it in the first minutes of life. You should, and your argument on that, and it's duly noted, is, well, what if the mother has it? And what I will say, that should go back to the mother.
Well, no, here's the problem. If the mother, it takes 4 to 6 weeks for the hepatitis B virus to be detectable. So you might, check the mother's blood, and she has no problem with that. And then 6 weeks later, she does. And she can transmit that via the placenta, or if the child is already born, via breastfeeding. She can transmit that, and then the child gets it, and something like 85% of the kids who get chronic hepatitis C.
Well, here's the thing. I'm still going to stick to my guns on this, and it's because I believe both parents should be able to make the decision whether they want the kid to have hepatitis B straight away or not. Your point is noted, and the only thing I will say to what I know about hepatitis.
You say your point is noted, but you think it's bullshit.
Well, that's why people have differences of opinion. And that's how we figure things out over time. Right. What I'm saying is, you can only get hepatitis B through one of multiple ways, and that's getting syringe or having sex with somebody and catching it via blood.
Sure. Yeah.
And if you're a parent, you're a woman, and you're very confident you haven't had strange sex with somebody that might have something, and your spouse hasn't, and you haven't had a syringe of any kind, I feel like you should be able to hold off and not do hepatitis B straight away.
You can. Yeah. You can. You can say, I do not want my child to have hepatitis B.
I'm just saying, don't do it on day one. That was all I was saying, and again, if it's a drug user or it's a known, if it's, if you're a person that lives a lifestyle, it's a different story.
That's the thing, is that there's a great number of former drug users who are now pregnant, and you got to work at that. But the people who haven't done that or have been vaccinated for hepatitis B themselves, which I think everybody should be, but once in their life, and once or twice, and that ought to be the end of it. But how do you know? That's the thing, because if mama is clean when she gets pregnant, it may become, 4 to 6 weeks later, it may become that she's actually got hepatitis B.
Well, again, she would have had to have sex with somebody that had hepatitis B, or she was shooting up.
Not necessarily.
How else do you get hepatitis B?
You can get hepatitis B from contact
with other people's blood.
With other people's,
Is it just blood, or is it any of their bodily fluids, like saliva?
It's saliva.
It's bodily fluid or blood.
Yeah, any bodily fluids. So if it's not airborne, but if you are out drinking with your friends and they say, "Here, taste my margarita," don't do that.
Yeah, especially if you're pregnant.
Yes. Yeah. Oh God!
Again, this is all piling right back to if you're pregnant.
That's another thing to worry about, is if they're drinking when they're pregnant. Is alcohol's
so anyway, my local beef here, and why I feel like I want to continue hammering on this, Doc, is you and I have we're almost on our 50th podcast. I think this is the 49th.
This is 49.
The next one will be number 50. And we've been talking about the same vaccine forever. We've been talking about this forever. And yet, nobody in the local health department really has addressed it. No. Local doctors don't talk about it really in any capacity.
I can tell you why the local people don't do it, is that they are minions of the state and the federal things. Mm-hmm. And, if you get somebody out there and they say, no, we don't want to do that, then the state removes them because they're going against the regulations.
Well, I'm going to say something very controversial.
Go right ahead.
You never do. Let's start.
So you and I have talked about the concept of a truth-seeking apparatus.
Yeah.
From almost get-go, and it's about having a group of doctors, whether real doctors in person or virtually, through content that they've written and books that they've written and videos and blogs and podcasts that they've done. And you and I like to look to people that we have looked at from the beginning of COVID over time, who've been mostly right. Or if they were wrong early on, they pivoted really fast and they said, hey, I screwed up.
I was wrong.
I screwed up. I was wrong. Hey, look, and I have so much more trust for you based on the fact that because some of these clips are going to explain why it's so hard for many doctors to do, and there's a lot of reasons, and so. But the most important
golden
thing,
handcuffs.
The most important thing to me is, hey, we screwed up, and you don't hear that from local health departments. Mm-mm. So, am I going to trust the next thing that they say?
Yeah,
no, not very much. So is that my fault, or is that their fault? Is it our fault, or is it their fault?
Well, any time that I've been dealing with people in the local health department, they say it's the rules, and that's it. It's the rules. I've gotten that 4 or 5 times. I said, why are you insisting that this patient that I cured from gonorrhea gets tested again when the CDC doesn't even require that? It's the rules. And I said, well, fuck you. This guy's not going for another test. I'm not going to order it.
You forgot the P, the puff.
Whenever you use that word, you got to use in front of it.
Yeah, okay.
Just in case somebody's kid's listening. So we're sorry if somebody heard that.
Yeah. Well, the kids got to hear it sooner or later.
That's right. So just anyone locally, anyone hearing this, the reason why me and Doc are going to continue getting together for as long as he'll have me and as long as I'll have him.
As long as I live.
Well, that's
either one of us.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's fair. So if we can't trust those people, then we have to assemble our own team with rapid response who will address real concerns and try to make the change, because there's one, we can either fix the system or we can throw the system out. We're seeing a lot of the stuff happening with Doge of taking the system and we're just going to defund you. We're going to fire you. You're going to go away.
Well, I read an article yesterday about the Health and Human Services Department, and they have gone from something like 45 separate groups to something like 18. Mm. So they've really made a big move, I think. I mean, because there was so much of one group not communicating with another group, or doing exactly the same thing. Redundancy and everything else. And the article that I read, and I think it was by the deputy secretary, that it's not going to be that way anymore. But you gotta go from the top down on that, and we've got the top guys there, and the people who are farther down, they're talking about getting rid of, I don't know what, 80,000 people. They already fired 10,000 people from Health and Human Services, and these were people who were supposedly working 40-hour weeks. But I doubt that they were even coming in.
Is that one of the buildings they showed up and there was only like less than 10% of the people that were supposed to be there? Yeah. So, I mean, there's all of that stuff going on. But again, people that want to choose to tune back in, if me and Dr. Roy or Travis or anybody comes to us with, hey, there's this thing happening, let's say it's something other than COVID that's away. We talked about bird flu for a minute. That kind of came and went.
Flew away.
And we'll talk about Doc's new Goose. Kind of a good lead in for that one.
He died from
H1N5 or whatever. H5.
No, he died from lead.
Toxic
lead poisoning.
Toxic lead poisoning, because I shot the hell out of it.
Well, no, it wasn't lead. Probably it was probably steel.
Yeah, it was steel.
Yeah, can't use lead. You can't use
There's
lead.
one
high velocity steel poisoning.
Yeah. High velocity steel poisoning.
Yeah.
We couldn't use lead back then, but there was another one, another heavy metal that you could use besides steel, and that was a little bit better.
We need to have some good music.
I heard heavy metal. I was like, yeah. I had the bullhorns out.
Yeah.
We need a Travis cam.
We need to get Professor Mullins in here from U of E.
So anyway,
she's a hardcore.
Man, you guys are so distractive. Anyway, I'm coming back to the next thing that comes through, and there will be a next thing.
Yeah,
there will be another potential pandemic. There will be another. The media is really good, and I've got something written on the board here. I think about how our media. Maybe I didn't put it on this one. How our local media screws things up.
It just says ignores post-COVID death. Local media.
They ignore important things, and
even the coroner does that.
Yeah,
because if somebody dies, they'll just say unknown.
Well, I think our local media.
You put local health department ignoring elephant in the room.
Yeah,
or
Goose. I put Goose.
You put Goose in
the room.
Well, the elephant in the room that really, really, truly concerns me, and why I keep coming back to this is. Me and Dr. Roy talked about massive spikes in turbo cancers, massive spikes in sudden death for really young people that have never had these issues before. And is media on top of it? Are they listening to the same things that you and I are talking about? Are they trying to tell us as soon as they can tell us? Are they waiting on the health department to do it? Nobody is even talking about it. They're ignoring it. And that's potential. The reason why I wanted to bring up young people that might be pregnant or getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Because you need to be having this conversation and thinking about these things, because it's not only you that are choosing to do something now. Because most people that are having babies now, or
you gotta be careful, even if you're older, because one busted condom makes you a grandparent.
You can't make yourself a grandparent.
Travis's eyes just went, what?
No, if your daughter is having sex with somebody in the...
Have you seen Landman? The show Landman?
Here we go.
With Goliath. Oh, I love that. I love that. We've got one rule, Daddy. Anyway, I'm not gonna say it, but watch Landman. You'll know what I mean.
Yeah.
First episode. Or do you want me to say it?
Well, he's already said poof, several times.
Yeah.
But, the young lady who plays his daughter in Landman is also in 1923.
No, but I do know she's 27 playing a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
I looked that up the other day. I was like,
yeah.
Oh, cow.
Yeah, they do that a lot.
Yeah. But anyway, but the way you said that, never mind. But
so local health departments, along with our local hospitals, still highly promoting COVID boosters and shots and all this stuff, all while really ignoring, and even if they're not fully pushing it hard.
I don't think they're pushing it as hard as they used to.
Well, only like 10% of the people are taking them.
Yeah.
I can't believe they're allowed to still give them.
Well, yeah, that's the problem.
That's a problem
That's the problem that we're going to, is that they're still administering the COVID vaccine.
And I believe every second they're doing that, Doc, they're not only delaying their ability to start winning trust back again, but the longer we know that they're blatantly ignoring it, just makes me think, how are they ever going to come back?
Yeah.
How will they ever come back if they can't acknowledge it as soon as they know something's not right? Even if they say, we know something's off here and we're really digging into it now, we're looking at all the research and things going on, and we are going to tell you as soon as we know something different, nothing. It's just crickets. So I just can't handle it, and we're going to talk about it a little bit every time we sit down together.
Well, why don't you run for president? Because
well, Doc, RFK, I don't know if he's been compromised or what, and
no,
hopefully...
I don't think that he's been compromised. I think he's trying to go from the top down to get rid of the bad ones and to realign that, because what they said in this article was really refreshing, that they were going to take like 40 different departments and turn them into like 17 and limit the number of people that they have in there. And I think they'll get around to it, but, it may not be until the end of this year.
Okay.
And the other problem that I see is the contracts, because that Moderna and Pfizer have multi-billion-dollar contracts with the United States government, and those probably say that if you decide to get rid of this contract, you still have to pay us in full. And,
so I'm going to remain.
See, you ought to go to law school. Like we're talking about.
That's a whole nother problem. I'm not going to talk about on camera. What I will say is I wore a shirt. I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want to get censored on YouTube.
It's poof.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, ironically,
it's poof.
So take a look at that. Shout out to Dr. Brett Weinstein and Dr. Heather Hying of the Dark Horse. This was a genius design by theirs, and it just basically says the breakthroughs never stop.
Yeah,
and it's talking about a certain pharmaceutical company. It's just a little bit crazy that we can't have an honest conversation without worrying about getting censored and worried about who's where all the money is coming from, and yet people just aren't aware of how we're being manipulated and lied to, and it's really highly alarming to me. Let's talk about your Goose for a minute before we pivot over into Clipville and
Goose that gets the gander.
So before he tells you that, we're getting ready to go into some clips, and what we usually do if you're a new visitor to the podcast is no one really has time to listen to all the really highly relevant and important podcasts that are going on there. There's not enough time in the day. What I've kind of devoted myself to, first of all, I love really gaining knowledge through people that I trust and people that I like, and trying to whittle it down and make it make sense to where we can use it moving forward and build on it. And that way, not everybody has to listen to the same stuff. Though every podcast that I share with you guys, I would highly recommend listening to the whole thing. I've got several today that are important. I think. But just so you know, we're getting ready to do some clips, and we're gonna do some riffing on each of the little segments of the clips and get Dr. Roy's kind of overlapping opinion of what he thinks the people that are saying. A lot of times there's doctors that we're going to be sharing stuff with, and you'll kind of share your local perspective of that. Anyway, so if first time on the listening to the podcast, prior to this, you had, what was the name of the duck that you had behind you?
It was a gander or something. It's a very small duck.
You would be able to tell me if you were looking at it, but not looking at it, you can't tell me. Yeah. So Dr. Roy was an avid duck hunter, waterfowl hunter, I guess is a better way to put it. And one of our biggest, most, well,
if it flies, it dies.
He listens. So one of the guys that's been listening to our podcast since the beginning made a reference to about a goose.
Yeah.
And so we've changed it out. David, the goose is for you. So Doc, tell us a little bit about the goose.
Well, this is a subspecies of Canada goose. And
I'm pointing at the goose.
This is first time Travis has been on camera. His finger's on camera. No, that's not true. We saw your butt when you were changing out the bird.
It's a subspecies of Canada goose. It's not the ones that you normally see around the lakes here. This one is Brenta canadensis minima, because it's very small, and if you look at the size of this thing, it's quite a bit smaller than the geese that we see around here.
And it doesn't look small in scale behind you, but anyone that's been up close to a goose,
the neck is what gets me. It's got a much shorter neck
and smaller bill. Look at the bill.
The bill as well. Yeah, but
the one thing that stands out with this particular subspecies is the white ring around their neck. And you can see that white ring in the feathers there right at the base of their neck.
Yep.
And that's how you know what it is. And this one happened to be flying with a bunch of snow geese. And, when you've got 250 snow geese 40 yards above you, you just sort of shoot up into them. So I knocked this one
So is
down.
this one, are the species the same as a regular goose? If they lose their mate, they're kind of all on their own, or do you know?
I don't know that anybody has studied that with the minima subspecies, but I would imagine that they're like the regular Canada geese, that if you lose your spouse, then you don't have another.
Well, that would make sense why he was with a bunch of snows, or she.
Yeah.
I don't want to gender misidentify whatever. We don't know if it's male or female.
I didn't inspect their genitalia before the taxidermy.
It might be a cat.
Did.
You can't ask it.
That's true. It might be offended. It might be offended. Oh yeah. Well, thanks for bringing us some new bling to the wall, Dr. Roy.
Hey, I got another one too. The funniest thing was, this thing's been sitting in the back of my car for 2 weeks, and I parked it outside of a building, and I was inside it's the building where my clinic is. And a guy came in and he said, "Hey, where did you get the minima?" And I said, "A what?" He said, "Oh, the minima. It's a minima Canada goose." And I said, "I shot it in Texas." And he was talking about other subspecies and all this kind of stuff. There are like 14 other subspecies of Canada geese around here. They're not around here, but the main ones that we see are the regular ones.
Since they're Canadian, like after you shot it, did it go, "Oh, I'm so sorry, so sorry"? No.
No, they're Canada geese, not Canadian geese, because about 2/3 of them are born on the east side of Evansville, right in.
I call them nuisance geese.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of poop.
You find a lot of people that will. This is going to be a little controversial. You see a lot of people that if they see geese crossing the road, they'll like stop and they'll sit there and wait. And I'm like, the geese will just stand there and look at you. They're not going to move. You physically have to act like
I usually lay on the horn,
and they'll move. Well, I mean, sometimes they move by horn. Sometimes they'll be like.
Well, if mama's got a lot of babies walking across, that's a cute thing to look at.
Oh, I'm not going to run over.
You can film that.
I'm not going to push babies along, but most of the nuisance geese that we have along the area, they'll just like sit there and look at you in the middle of the road.
So what's a baby goose called?
Gosling.
Yeah, I always go, "Hey, look, there's Ryan." Right. Yeah. Oh wait, wrong one.
No, you can't cheer yourself.
Over on the east side where my clinic used to be. Well, it's still on the east side, but where the big practice was. About once a month, I would see a dead goose out in the road, and I just laugh. You know, you go to Indiana, and the roadkill is Canada geese.
You should have gone out and tested it, see if it was warm, and you could have taken it home and.
I did, actually.
What is he, Jed Clampett? What, we're eating roadkill now?
I did. It was cold. So
I'm not going to mention any names, but I have a really, really good friend. He's actually been on the podcast before, and his dad is. I don't know. I don't like just throwing the words around, but he is very wealthy. One of the wealthier guys probably in town, and my buddy tells the story about them growing up, and they went through periods where they didn't really have anything, and his dad would stop on the side of the road, no matter what it was, possum, raccoon, or whatever, roadkill, and he would pick it up and put it in the trunk, and they'd take it home and eat it. Yeah. And even when he made his money, still does it.
He still likes some roadkill stew.
Well, see if it's warm. If it's warm and it doesn't, it's.
Well, I hit a deer. This was probably 11 years. I hit a deer coming back from USI after giving an instruction that night, and I hit the deer, and then I got out of my car, and it was dark, and I couldn't find the thing. I was going to take that home and have fresh venison.
Yeah, it's amazing how tough they are. They get hit, and they
usually go a bit.
Yeah. They'll die 100 yards off the road or 200 yards off the road or something.
Yeah.
So you were talking about local. I'm going to switch it back around so that we get back on some kind of topic.
Well, I was getting ready to get into clips, but
other than roadkill stew.
It sounds like you're going down another rabbit hole. But let's go.
A little bit. Well, no, you were just talking about local, like the local health department, local things. And did you just happen to notice? I think it was when you were on vacation, or it may have been the week before. But I actually saw the mayor kind of online and getting a bit of some talking things about her. It's the only time I've seen it since she's been in office. Do you know what it was for? Singing "Happy Birthday" to Evansville.
Okay.
Did you see that clip? Oh. She sings. She's in some shop somewhere, and she sings. I don't know. Did Evansville was like the 100th or 150th or 200? I don't know how many years Evansville's been a municipality, but she just sat there and sang "Happy Birthday." And
it was about 1814 when it was.
And so many nosers were. Oh, such a beautiful voice! And she's so great for Evansville. And
Evansville is older than Indianapolis by a long shot.
Yeah,
because it was the
southern part
that was first.
While we were in Florida, we met somebody from northern Indiana or somewhere else, and they were like, they heard we were from Evansville, and he was like, "Man, do you guys know how important you were to the development of the country and the importance through the war?" I mean, like
through the war, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just
built tanks and things.
Yeah, I mean, so
yeah.
I mean, we were a major port. The river was
Evansville was on Hitler's kill list.
Yeah, we were in.
If they could have gotten a bomber that would have come across the ocean, they were going to hit Evansville. Mm-hmm. It was about fifth on their list.
That's right. No, so I didn't see that about the mayor.
Anyway, but everybody was up her butt about how awesome she was. And boy, man, what has she done?
Well, anyway, we're gonna talk about mayoral races.
Should I have prefaced with? Oh, this might be controversial. Should I have said that first, like you're doing?
That. No comment.
That's all right. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get into a clip here. This particular first podcast that we're going to talk about first is. Tucker Carlson is interviewing Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. I think Dr. Roy has listened to this one already, or at least parts of it.
Yeah, and I was ready to arm up on that one.
And I don't know. I would love to say what she is. She is board certified sleep medicine specialist,
otolaryngoscopy. She's
say that 12 times.
God bless you.
Yeah,
otolaryngoscopy.
But she is undergraduate, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, Medical School, Georgia, at Augusta University. Then pursued residency in whatever it is that you just said at Stanford University.
Yeah.
From what I understand, she's been in good graces. She's 25 years of medical experience, but she gained national attention during COVID-19 pandemic for her approach to patient care and her advocacy for medical freedom. She claims to successfully treated thousands of COVID-19 patients, and she's still today fighting to keep her license.
That's right. And they've been putting it off. They were going to have a hearing, and they just keep putting it off. So she's kind of in limbo. Mm-hmm. Her license is still in good standing, but they're, they've got their foot on her neck, I think.
Yeah, well, and I don't think we'll get to the piece of the clip, just so you know, she's talking about slowing down her practice a little bit, even though she's not stopping the fight and everything that she's talking about. She's talking about the podcasts and stuff. She's really good. I've seen her on several podcasts, but we'll get into, I hope the clip is queued up here. Let me make sure. I think it is. And then we got the volume all straightened away, but we're going to start here. This is about halfway through. And man, this is very choppy, Travis. I hope that we've got good.
That's funny because when I was watching it the other day, it was choppy on YouTube too. Yeah,
they're probably. I mean, he talks at the end of this podcast. We also probably won't get to that. He's talking about YouTube censor. He thought YouTube would censor this one because they're talking about vaccines and all that stuff. So they could be messing with it.
They use the I word about 1,000 times.
Yeah, and we will too.
Yes,
I noticed.
How to fix that?
No, like, what do you do if you get sick? Like, your answer was don't get sick.
Well, if you have to go to the hospital, be prepared. Have somebody with you. Have your there is a patient bill of rights. You have rights in the hospital. Make sure you know those rights.
I haven't noticed them.
Yeah, they don't advertise them.
Why do doctors patronize patients?
Oh yeah, so that's a bit, and it's
what is that? Treating them like children?
Well, when I started 23 years ago, patients didn't have a lot of access to information, not like they have now. So we were in charge. We were definitely in charge because we had the information, and patients really, unless they had textbooks, they didn't have it because we didn't have online information. And now, I mean, patients are well informed. And so every conversation I have with a patient, I know that they have been researching and they have a lot of information at their disposal. And I think a lot of doctors don't like that. I embrace it because, I mean, I learn from my patients. And if a patient finds something, I will dig into it because I don't have time to dig into all of everything, right? And you see weird things, and I like it. But I think that doctors don't like that. It's a power thing. And it can be frustrating on the flip side if you feel like you really know what's going on and you're challenged by something somebody's read on the internet. That can be frustrating. But it's the doctors just don't. It's a power thing and an ego thing. But
I wanted to stop on this one and touch on it because this is some of the times we get into some of this friction, and I think early in the internet days, everybody would try to become an internet doctor, and the information you get was all over the board, and you didn't know who to trust. But there we go.
Sure, Dr. and Google. She's absolutely right. I've got about 26 years of practice on her, with 51 years, and back in the 1970s. Doctors were well respected, and you did what the doctor told you to do. Most of the time. I've had some people say, no, I'm not going to take medicine for my high blood pressure. And I said, which...
Are you talking to me, Doc?
No, I'm not talking to you.
No, it was cholesterol that you were trying to...
Yeah, it was cholesterol. But what we used to say to them then is which funeral home do you want to be taken to when you die? So that was kind of tough back then, but it's gradually gone, and you still have to watch out if you're going to Dr. Google for all your information. You may not get the right stuff.
Yeah,
and it's always good if you are doing that. Come to your doctor like her patients did and say, well, what about this? What about that? And if the doctor says, oh, it doesn't mean anything, it's crap, find another doctor.
Yeah, so we're what we're doing right now is clarifying what the truth-seeking apparatus is to me. You've been a part of my truth-seeking apparatus, and I hopefully have been on yours, meaning I bring things in front of you maybe that you hadn't seen, and you can
absolutely
re-identify and like question it and think. So where we are getting better, and why I think there's this big buzz about large language models, and I'm using Grok almost extensively now because it's free for most people.
Yeah, I'm on there 10 times a day.
Yeah, it's free for most people, but it really is, people, if you're doing this on your own, it really is about the quality of the question and the prompt that you put into the thing.
Yeah.
If you ask a general vague question, sometimes you're going to get the runaround and not get it.
I put one in today and it just sat there and spin.
Well, here's what I suggest people do, Doc. And if you were a well-published doctor and you had papers and all these, I would say I would put you on my truth-seeking apparatus online, but you don't have a lot of content online. So what I do typically is I have a list of doctors that, if it's a particular subject, and you and I have talked about them a lot, and we've dug into their background, we both mostly trust them. We haven't caught them in a lie. We're not catching them trying to sell us products just to sell us products. I'll put them in the prompt. So I'll ask Grok. I'll say, tell me more about. Osteoporosis is one thing. For obvious reasons. Yeah. So I've put something in about osteoporosis, and I say, tell me what this doctor would say. Tell me what this doctor would say. Tell me what this doctor would say. And I use them against each other. Yeah. And Grok basically looks at where they're the same and where they're different, and how the nuances of what they might recommend is. And I think if you can bring that to a doctor, and you can say, well,
you can.
I've went online. I found who I believe is one of the top 10 osteoporosis doctors, and I asked, based on the papers and the blogs and the podcasts that they've been on, these questions, and here's what I come up with. Doc, tell me about this. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that brings you armed. She said, take somebody with you, but in essence, you could take a Grok printout or something like that and say, here's what's Grok. Tell me how this is wrong, or what are we doing? Right?
Yeah, and if they're open-minded like I am, they will talk to you about it. If they're not, they say, "Oh, that's crap. Get it out of here. You're gonna do what I say you're gonna do, or you're gonna find another doctor."
And Doc. It's been cool seeing you, bud. Take care. Yeah.
So that's true. I always gave my patients at least 2 options of how we could go through taking care of a certain problem. Mm-hmm. And if they had a lesion on their chest, and they said, what do you want to do about that? And I said, that looks an awful lot like melanoma, mm-hmm. and I think we ought to remove it and have it tested. And if they say, no, just give me some salve to put on there, then I usually write them a letter and say, people who ignore melanomas often die from melanoma. Mm-hmm. So I had a lady like that. She had one on her breast, and I told her that, that might be a melanoma. And she said, oh, no, just give me some steroid to put on it. I said no, and I wrote her a letter and told her that, and she came back to me immediately and said, take it off, I don't want to die.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think, have you done any research, and we're getting a little off topic here, but have you done any research? I've heard that people in the future of medicine is going to be evolving, and certain practice parts of the doctors are going to be made even maybe better, or there's going to be less needed doctors because of what AI is going to bring to the table. It's like, if you can take a blood test or a series of blood tests and input them into, mm-hmm. a large language model, and they can look at it and say, we've compared this to all these different things, and here's what it tells you. I mean, people are going to be able to do that on their own.
Yeah, we've got those already. Yeah. And the interesting thing about that is that they will often have a completely different thought about it. Did you lose your...
I don't know. Something fell. Something fell, but it's not important, I guess.
Okay. Anyhow, I would always give my patients a couple of options. I'd say, well, we can start you on this medication, and it will probably make a big difference. And some people read or listen to commercials, and they, how the commercials for drugs always mention all the bad things that can go wrong.
I can't listen to them.
Yeah. But they don't, the people say, I don't want you to give me that medicine. It'll kill me. And I said, do you know what percentage of people have that? It's like 1%. But they have to tell you that.
I feel like, remember the old Micro Machine commercial with the fast talking guy? I feel like that's the person who's reading those, because they read them usually, blah, 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 read them all real fast.
But that's the thing. It's if it had more than 10% problems, it would probably be taken off the market.
I hope RFK
and she
can make
talks
that happen.
About this.
Well, RFK is trying to do the advertising. They're taking farm ads off. Yeah.
If you get 5 deaths from the thing, the FDA gives you a black box to put on there. You get 10 deaths and you take the thing off the market.
Unless it's a
COVID vaccine.
Unless it's one of these things.
Yeah, unless it's a COVID vaccine. There's something like 38,000 people, probably more.
It's more.
Yeah.
And it's going to continually be more.
Probably 10 times more.
So 2 things are going to happen. Let's move on through the clip here. Yeah. But I heard the same thing that you heard about RFK trying to get rid of pharma advertising. And here's what that will do. That will change media's funding apparatus. It will change what they report on and what they don't report on. And to me, what I've heard is they're not trying to sell those medicines. Whenever you see those ads, all they are is buying the media in that. So they're paying.
It's a funnel of money.
It's a way to give them money. They're not trying to sell that one product. They're just giving them money, and then they get to control the content that the media companies share. So it's a control apparatus more than it is a sales tool.
You know, if you look at some of those things, they're all for diseases that occur in less than 1% of the population. But I mean, if you're one of those 1%ers, then you want to know which thing is going to take care of your eczema or your psoriasis or your Crohn's disease I'm better than anything else.
I hope that they can figure out a way to make broad spectrum blood tests and just general testing much cheaper. And then rather than relying on somebody waiting for an ad to come on to help them, they can say, I've got this thing, I'm going to get a blood test, we're going to put it into a large language model, here's what it is, here's how we can treat it, there it goes. And then
I think Theranos tried that about 10 years ago, and they're still in prison over that.
What's that?
You don't remember about Theranos? Theranos was the company that was going to have a small machine that you could put in any drugstore, and you put your hand in there and it takes a drop of your blood and it'll figure out what's going on with you. But they got millions and billions of money put behind that, and Walgreens was one of the pharmacies that went along with them, and they never could make a machine that could do that.
Oh.
And
so they said they were doing something. And
they said they were doing something, and they were getting a lot of money for it. Walgreens kicked them to the curb, and then the feds came in, and the 2 or 3 top, and there were some, whistleblowers too, but the 2 or the 3 top people who were in that group are in federal prison right now.
So it was a scam. It wasn't anything that was
not an intentional scam.
Okay.
They really wanted to do that, but they got to the point where they weren't able to make a machine that would do that, but they had put out so much that and taken so much money from other people that I forget the name of the lady. She was a very young lady. She was like 19 years old when she started this thing. And Elizabeth something. She's a blonde lady.
I think there might be a documentary on this.
Yeah.
I feel like
it was not. It was more than a documentary. It was actually a play or a movie about it. And it showed that they had the little box there, and it would suddenly pop and start drifting
smoking or
out
something
of there. Yeah. So, but look up Theranos, Theranos.
Okay.
The only pushback I would have to you is that I have been starting to see a lot more of the like the Ozempic, the weight loss stuff. They are trying to sell that. They're trying to, because we're all lazy fat Americans, so they're trying to get us all to buy those things. But there's so many side effects.
That was the whole thing about this, is make people fat and then come up with a ridiculously expensive drug to make them not be fat anymore.
And more importantly, if we can make them fat as a kid and give them diabetes, you have a patient for life.
For life.
Sure. Well, the number one item that Costco sells is not hot dogs. The number one item that Costco sells is either Ozempic or Zepbound.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know they did that.
Well, they have a pharmacy in Costco.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
You can't just walk in and buy this stuff.
It's like a PL1 or what are those?
GLP-1.
GLP-1, there we go.
GLP-1, and those are injectable drugs, and they were put on the market for treating diabetes, but they found that everybody with diabetes who was treated with it lost 40 pounds. Well, guess what? If they'd lost 40 pounds before, they wouldn't have had diabetes.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's some big pushback on Ozempic now happening, and whether it turns out to be a good one in the long term or not, I feel like we are in that phase of exploration to, if the pharmaceutical companies can't control the media and the truth can come out through podcasts and through doctors coming on and having actual studies using AI and large language models to truly track people's health and wellness over short to long periods of times, either on Ozempic versus diet and exercise.
Yeah.
I think we need that straight away.
Don't get me wrong on this. If you're 5 pounds overweight and you want to lose 5 pounds before summer so your bikini will fit better, Ozempic is not something that you need.
Right.
Taco Bell.
That's why they were there.
I was thinking of the aftermath. You can get rid of about 5 pounds after some Taco Bell.
But it comes right back. But that's not the little thing. But if you're 40 or 50 or 60 pounds overweight and you have tried diet, you've tried exercise, and you have insulin resistance, this is the drug that's going to help that. I personally have, right now, I think I've got 3, maybe 4 people who are taking GLP-1s, but I've had people in the past who were taking them, and they lost 80 to 100 pounds.
Well, my concern...
They didn't do it in a week.
Yeah.
They did it in like a year.
Do they have to keep taking it to keep it off, or if they stop, will it come? They do have to just keep taking it over and over.
Well, so that's my concern, is like if it turns into a lifetime thing, it'd be really nice if it was a bridge, and you could take it and get to the thing, and then
most
curb
of
your
the
diet.
time we encourage that, but there are some people that if you don't dull their appetite enough with the that's what the medicine does, suppresses the appetite.
But doesn't that make you digest food slower?
And it does that too.
So you remain sated at some level. And so it's part of it is
it decreases your appetite, and it increases your satiation, and you don't eat as much. But the thing about it is, if you didn't take that medication, you could still lose a lot of weight, but it's going to hurt. It's like fixing stupid. I can fix stupid, but it's going to hurt real bad.
Well, I don't think you can fix all stupid.
When I come back to get back on this clip,
I'm a veteran. I can fix all stupid.
We've got down on several rabbit holes here, but Dr. Bowden has been on carnivore, and she lost a pretty significant amount of weight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can tell she's a very lean, mean-looking person.
I went on keto back 10 years ago.
It worked, man.
And I lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
But actually, I've doing what I'm doing right now, I've lost 12 or 14 pounds this year. And my pants don't fit anymore, and
So if you see Doc walking down the street, turn the other way. You don't want the pants to fly.
I haven't been great at my walking in the winter. I have not been as good, and we've got all kinds of construction around here, and I almost got ran into a bunch of times. But I'm getting ready to get back on the exercise tip.
Let's hear what she's got to say about ivermectin.
Well, we'll get there. I got to think we might have to skip through some things. I don't have everything timed out perfectly, but let's go.
Mostly.
That was my suspicion. So what did you end up thinking of the shot, the COVID shot?
It's horrible. It needs to be pulled off the market. It should have been pulled off the market a long time ago. I looked at my patients in the 2 years following the rollout of the COVID shots, and 7% of my new patients were coming to see me for severe injuries. I've never seen anything like it with any other product on the market. Like if this were an antibiotic and you were seeing all these side effects, it would have been yanked off a long time ago.
Absolutely.
Normally, the FDA will put a black box warning on a medication if there have been 5 deaths.
This is what I was talking about.
They will pull it off the market if there have been 50. Well, according to VAERS, which VAERS is Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, and it's vastly underreported, which I have seen firsthand. Because
but it's been in place for 50 years or something. I mean, it's longitudinal, so we can see the response to all these different medications, right?
According to VAERS, there have been 38,000 deaths from these COVID shots. So under normal circumstances, the FDA would have pulled it. But instead, they've doubled down. They've put the shots on the childhood vaccine schedule. All babies are expected to get 3 COVID shots by the time they're 9 months old. The shots are still under EUA status for this age group. So under 12, they're not even fully approved by the FDA.
Quick stop. EAU means Emergency Use Authorization. It's how they got the vaccines pushed through in the first place. We're no longer an emergency, and it shouldn't be under that.
And yet they're on the vaccine schedule. And according to the CDC, 9 million American children have gotten the latest version of these COVID shots.
Actually?
Yes. Yes.
Still?
Yes.
So you can assume 900,000 have some sort of a reaction to it.
Yeah.
About one. She said 7% of people who'd gotten the COVID had something bad with them. So I just threw in 10%.
And what our local health departments and our local media is not telling us the stories that are most important is they don't even know what it's going to do 10 years from now.
When did it get added to the schedule? Because I didn't think it was ever actually on the schedule.
It's on the schedule.
Why are you not hearing anything about anything?
Well, because my daughter's got a checkup this coming week, and I told my wife, I said, if there's anything, we're not.
This is why I'm telling everyone they need to do their diligence. They need to come with the questions.
Say no.
Say no. I did it.
Oh, well, I will. My child will not have that garbage in her
This just happened today. Me and Marshall were watching a clip, listened to a clip on the way to school. And we listened to something, and he sits there very patiently and listens to things. And she was talking about this, and he looked at me, and I looked at him. He's like, "This is why you didn't let her give me that shot, right?" Mm-hmm. I mean, because whenever he was going to get a well baby check, and the doctor got really nasty.
Like back in 20 or
no, it would have been 21 or 22.
Oh,
they had a vaccine out, so it had to be 22, I think.
Yeah.
And she got really nasty with me, and needless to say, that was the last time that I went to her as a doctor. Sure. And now Marshall's Dr. Roy is Marshall's doctor, but he looks at me every time he hears something like this. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You didn't know you were his doctor?
No.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah, we did talk
he's
about
young,
it.
He doesn't need
But
any.
he's never come to my office or anything.
Because he's young. He's healthy.
He's 14. Yeah. He was just at the doctor because he had what happened? He got injured. Anyway, we're getting off track again.
12%.
I just didn't know it was on the schedule.
The concern I have with these kids. So we know myocarditis.
Wait, this is going on right now?
Yes.
I love how the camera keeps going back to him and he's just silent.
Correct. Yeah,
I don't know.
He's dumbstruck.
You would obviously he hadn't been keeping up with this stuff because maybe he's just acting. But God Almighty, I knew this back in 2021, and then if I had not been forced with a gun to my head.
Not actually, but mostly.
No, mostly.
You were more golden handcuffs and golden duct tape.
But they didn't put it on the schedule in 21. It was recent.
Yeah, not for kids.
Oh, he's talking about he was forced to jab.
I was forced,
to keep his practice.
Take that because one of the 2 systems in this town said if you do not get immunized against COVID and all of your employees immunized against COVID, we will no longer accept your patients here.
Yep.
And I took that for nothing. I couldn't send somebody over to get a blood draw.
For ages 6 months, yeah. Sorry, I'm listening to you, but I'm also reading. I want to know when this got added. But yeah, they're now
Recently,
part of the immunization schedule for children under 6 months.
It was sometime before Biden left.
Guess what conversation we should be having every day? Why are we doing this podcast? We're doing this podcast because I see something like this, or someone shares a clip with me, and they're like, "You're not going to believe this." And Tucker,
I believe anything.
Tucker has a huge following, but he's not everybody, because he used to be on Fox News. He doesn't. Some people just won't listen to him, but he actually was one of those characters that brought people from both sides. Like, he had a lot of Democrats that came to Fox News just to listen to him, and he was on CNN for a long time, and he's on MSNBC for a long time. So I mean, I think he brings a lot of people to the table. But again, the reason why I'm sharing this clip is there's so many things in here, Dr. Roy, that we have talked about that I felt like
absolutely
we can just riff on what we've said for the last 2 years, and they're just now kind of airing it out.
Yeah, it's more than the last 2 years. For me, it's been 4 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you and I have been talking about it since the beginning.
So it's on the 24-25. So yeah, it had to have been last year.
It was last
under
year.
Biden,
before Biden left. And, Biden didn't have anything to do with the poor senile guy.
He didn't have anything to do with changing his underwear, Doc. Let's be real.
I know,
okay. Okay. I mean, that's a whole nother thing that we're going to talk about.
They put a picture on Facebook and it showed John Kennedy when he was very young and very good looking, and they were advertising cologne for men, and they said it really smells like a president. And I was saying, well, now do Biden. What does he smell like?
Oh, boy.
Baby powder and poop.
Are you trying to get to something, Travis, or can we keep...
No, I'm fucking angry.
Okay.
And I'm going to say fucking angry, because I can't believe this is part of the schedule.
It is.
This is why I do the podcast.
Yeah.
I kept track of it for a while, but I knew that my daughter wasn't up for shots for a few years, so she's really not until next year supposed to get any kind of shots. But if this is on the schedule now, I'm sure they're going to bring it up next week whenever we go to see someone.
This is why I'm mad at Trump, and this is why I'm mad at RFK.
Well,
again, this is the leading thing to me. Like, we've talked about medical tyranny, Doc, since 2020.
Absolutely.
We started podcasting in 2022 about it, I think is what it was. Maybe 23. We've been talking about it. And everybody took a big, deep sigh of relief because the team hit, we got a new team, and there's this thing. They're mostly just ignoring the whole vaccine thing.
I don't think
We're talking about food. We're talking about Fruit Loops mostly, it seems like.
Yeah, I don't think so, because like I told you earlier,
I know.
I believe that Kennedy is starting from the top down, and that when he gets to this point, he's going to say, get rid of that.
Well, and he said it. He said it that he would pause on any COVID vaccine. He said that multiple times, the mRNA thing.
Yeah.
If one more kid gets an mRNA vaccine that's a COVID shot, and we're not screaming about it from the top, that's one kid too many.
I know.
We're past it.
And I think there are some things behind the scenes that they're concerned about, because they probably have $100 billion that are in contract to Pfizer and Moderna about that. And consequently, if they break that contract, they're going to end up having to pay Pfizer and Moderna the $100 billion anyway.
Yeah. So, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
I'm going to scream from the mountains. I'm going to tell everybody I know that has kids about
okay.
this.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
go right ahead.
So half the time, I feel like our podcast moving forward is screaming about continued medical tyranny like this, and the other half that you and I talk about a lot is the turbo cancers and the cures for things that we're seeing, and what can we do that our medical system is not telling us. The reason why it's a 1-2 punch. These things are still going on. We're still going to have myocarditis escalation. You said there's no real cure for that. That's a real problem. But the turbo cancers are, kids are having pancreatic cancer at alarming rates, and that is
age 13.
That's never been a thing.
Yeah,
never been a thing.
The only thing I can figure about that, if the kid hadn't been vaccinated, was that pancreatic cancer is hereditary, and if he had two parents that had the gene for pancreatic cancer, then he gets a double dose, and that may be why he has it so early. I've had young women who came into me with their liver completely shot. They were yellow as a lemon, and I couldn't do anything for them, so I shipped them off to Birmingham, and they couldn't do anything either. The young lady died like 4 days later in Birmingham, and this was before liver transplants had been taken care of. And it turned out that this girl's sister, who was about 5 years older, had the same thing and died of the same thing. So that's got to be hereditary or environmental. If they're sitting around sucking on lead bullets or something.
Yeah, we've got so many. So because we've had 2 weeks off, everything that you're just hitting on, I've got so many clips that I want to share this week. It's crazy. We could do.
Go ahead and do them, and I'll shut up.
No. We don't want to shut up. I just wish we had. I wish we could do 3 this week. Honestly, there's so much stuff that we're hitting on that I want.
This week's almost over, so we'll have to do next week.
Yeah, only one though. So far, here we go.
Yeah.
Let's try.
I'm just stunned to learn that that's happening right now.
Yeah.
Could this be shut down?
It should have been shut down a long time ago. And, what's the
9 million babies have had COVID shots?
Yeah, well, children. Minors.
9 million, not 90.
Is it compulsory?
It's still compulsory in some states, yes. In some businesses, not in Texas. So Texas actually passed a law outlawing mandates for COVID shots. But I actually reached out to people on Twitter yesterday, and they said, all these people said, yeah, it's still requiring the shots for jobs or a nursing program or even transplants.
Yeah, transplants is another one because there are some places that they will not transplant somebody who has had COVID, who has not had COVID shots.
Yeah, we hit on that on a podcast. There was a young girl that was denied service, and we were all in arms about that.
Yeah.
Which is just stupid. It's stupid.
And yeah, it is stupid. But some of the states have continued to do that. I bet I can name some of them. They're in the upper Midwest and begin with an M. So one begins with an I. So anyhow, it can happen, and it is happening, and I can't wait for them to do it, but I think there's something behind the scenes that we don't know about, and you don't want to throw away $100 billion. Well,
life is important
lives, to me. Yeah. Well, you know that our politicians and our media and many of the healthcare people, they just want to keep you sick so they can continue to give you medicines. I had an oncologist tell me early in my career, he said, you don't have to keep them alive forever, Roy. You just have to keep them alive until the money runs out.
That's enlightening. I'm getting back into the clip, and now I'm depressed.
All right, go.
I just created a Facebook post right now.
Let you die unless you get the shot. How could we fix that?
Well, the shots need to be pulled off the market immediately.
Who could do that?
The FDA.
Okay.
So Marty McCarry, he could do that.
Marty McCarry needs to be on the Tucker Carlson podcast.
And we need accountability. Yeah. I mean, we can't sweep this under the rug because we will never restore that trust. And that's the key thing is if nothing happens, it's just a festering wound and the trust will never come back.
Are there any indications that this is coming soon?
I mean, I'm not privy to conversations in the government.
I think you probably follow this as closely as anybody. There's so much going on, so I'm going to just plead ignorance on that basis. There's like
I
a
think
lot.
They're keeping this under
wars and
wraps.
the economy, and there's just a lot to distract you from this question. But I think it's a really important question. But you are focused on it. Have you seen any sign at all that these products, which according to the self-reporting system VAERS have killed 38,000 people, that they're going to be pulled off the market?
I have not. I mean, it seems to me that HHS, their focus now has shifted, or I don't know, their focus is on food and food quality and improving that. And I haven't heard a word about COVID or the COVID shots.
Really?
Not, I mean, maybe I've missed something, but I'm just reading what you're reading. I mean,
Food is like smoking, and I love bad food, and I love smoking. I don't smoke anymore, but I loved it. And I'll just say that, and everyone hate me for it, but it's just true. That's why people do it, because they love it. And I love pizza. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever smoked a cigarette.
I love
ever
pizza.
eaten a slice of pizza without knowing it was bad for me.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's common sense.
It is common sense.
I'm going to try to skip forward a little bit here.
We don't know what that risk is for nonverbal babies because the symptom is chest pain. So a baby, the baby could be getting myocarditis, and we have no idea. Myocarditis can leave a scar on the heart, and then years later, the heart is permanently
right. You're playing lacrosse and you drop.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's my big concern. These babies could be getting myocarditis, and we have no idea.
Do you believe that those shots are responsible for permanent immune system damage?
I think, well, what I have been looking at is spike protein antibody levels. So when you get a vaccine, you can, traditionally we call them titers. So like people who get hepatitis B vaccine, you can look at the titers, the antibody levels, and see if you have protection. We do that as in the hospital a lot. So they want to make sure if
you hadn't heard titers before?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
All the time.
Yeah. I thought you said who?
I didn't drop to a lower level like he does over there.
I didn't say a word.
Yeah.
Titers.
It's titers, not titters.
if you work in the hospital, if you get stuck by a needle, you're not going to get hepatitis B. So I've started looking at these spike protein antibody levels, and it's alarming because the people, I can tell immediately if somebody had the shot. In the vaccinated, these antibody levels are, I did an average last night, 13,000. And the unvaccinated average is 1,000. So there's huge discrepancy.
And this is years after the shot?
Years after. And these people, most of these people have gotten 2, maybe 3. Nobody's gotten more than that. And none of these people have been sick recently with COVID. So it's very alarming to me. It suggests, I mean, we don't know, but it suggests that spike protein is still active and still replicating possibly in the body. I mean, the mRNA in these shots is not mRNA. It's a synthetic mRNA, and it was made to avoid degradation. So it's made to stay in the body. That was the purpose of it, of modifying it.
Okay. We could have listened to this whole podcast episode, and I'm going to try to find and get to the clip, the number on the ivermectin, because she does start talking about it. If you want to riff on that a little bit.
That was actually earlier in there, so you may want to move backwards for that.
I thought the ivermectin was at the end.
I'm still fighting mad over here. Like, I'm ready to swing.
Yeah.
That pisses me off. Well, that's where is that what you were talking about when you said you're ready to arm up or whatever you said?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys riff a little bit. I can actually go through here and kind of scan and see the.
Do you want to talk about our ivermectin right now?
Yeah, we can talk about ivermectin.
Since we're here. I don't know. I saw it on the table.
Yeah, we got them on the table. I have in my hand about 7 blister packs of ivermectin, 12 milligrams per tablet. It's 5 tablets are usually what you need to take for a round of COVID, and it comes in packages of 10 so that, 2 people can have it. And these are being sold for $30 for each blister pack, and it's well worth it.
$3 a pill. That's pretty
$3 a pill. And you contact us. I have somewhere between 50 and 60 of these blister packs, so that's enough to take care of 100 people right there. And you can get a hold of me through X, Twitter. It's what is it?
Is that the Air Rescue Doc?
Yeah, Air Rescue Doc. And just drop me a DM and say I want to buy some ivermectin.
Or get a hold of Chad, because if you're listening to this, you probably know Chad. Well, everybody knows Chad.
That's right.
Yeah. Now this lady, I think, wants ivermectin to be over the counter, and I don't mind that. But right now, you can only get it with a physician's prescription. But if you call me and say I want some ivermectin, I'll sell it to you. The only way I could buy this to have it for you is to be a physician myself in good standing, and I am, thankfully. Even though in the past, I got beat up a lot for using ivermectin to treat COVID, but in the 150 people that so far that I've treated for COVID with ivermectin, nobody's been hospitalized and nobody died. And
that's a pretty good track record, Doc.
Yeah. And everybody felt better. I think your wife did, Chad.
You have to say something.
I got called in, it was late November, by a patient, and she said, my husband and I both have COVID, and we feel like crap. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'll be over your house in 5 minutes, because she lives right around the corner. And I gave her one of these, and they were better in 5 days. I had another lady call me 2 days before New Year's, and she said, I think I'm dying. I've never been this sick in my life. And she told me that she had COVID, and she was having a lot of other things. And I went out to her house and talked to her for a little while, and sold her a pack of
I've had it a couple times, and I really wish that ivermectin was allowed back then. Like nobody would give it to you back when I had it back in late 20 and maybe once in 21, and I couldn't get it if I wanted it.
Ivermectin wasn't even talked about then, so you could have gotten it because it wasn't even a hot topic that people were talking about.
I thought it was in 21.
You would have had to
21, yeah, late 21.
21 is when it came in, but if you'd have done that before, you'd have to get it as horse paste.
Well,
And you don't want to do that because there's so much other stuff. This is pure ivermectin, and it used to only come in 3 milligram tablets, so you'd have to take 4 of them a day for 5 days. And now they manufacture them in 12 milligram tablets. And
I might have found the clip on ivermectin here. And the thing about this podcast, and I recommend everyone watch it, it's an hour and 23 minutes. They talk about a lot of different things, not just COVID, not just treatment, using ivermectin for the treatment of COVID. This is one of those areas that's expanding that Dr. Roy hasn't been comfortable talking about because he hasn't had personal experience and there's not any studies or anything, but ivermectin really is being looked at much more closely to help with many other things, including cancer and all that different things. So let me see if this clip, it seems to be kind of spinning right now. I don't know if it's going to work or not. Here we go. Let's try it.
Was there any hospital in Houston where you live, I think, that was willing to be reasonable or was not taking orders?
Yes, there was.
Good.
Yes. So there was a Dr. Joe Verone, who's a pulmonologist, critical care doctor. He's now the head of Independent Medical Alliance. He and I would have, it was crazy. We'd have patients calling us all over the country saying, help, get me out of this hospital. And he would accept transfers from all over the country. So people would be, life flighted from ICU in Maine and taken down to Houston, and he would care for them. And this hospital, UMMC, allowed him to use ivermectin. And there was a whole protocol that was, it's called the Math Plus protocol, and started by FLCCC,
Peter McCullough,
which now is Independent Medical Alliance. But it was high dose steroids. It was high dose ivermectin. It was high dose vitamin C. It was breathing treatments. It was all these very basic, not dangerous things that weren't being done. He saved a lot of lives. He worked crazy. I think he worked over 2.5 years straight without even a break. But I was fortunate to have him as an ally and somebody.
What a man. Good for him. So you're clearly a data person. Do we have like the final outcome? Like how did those patients do versus patients who were like intubated in some Biden-controlled hospital?
And just so we know, I didn't start with the context. They're talking about standard treatment for COVID, what our hospital systems locally have done and continue to do, to my knowledge, versus what these folks did and the difference of results that they've gotten.
Well, if you look at, there's a great website that compiles all the ivermectin data just by itself. And we have 105 studies showing the efficacy of ivermectin. And it varied depending on the actual patient, as it should. Yeah. And you wouldn't always just use ivermectin. So, in my more severe patients, I would use a combination of ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin. During that second week, I would do higher dose steroids if necessary. I would do breathing treatments. So it's hard to isolate saying, okay, well, it's just ivermectin. But when you look on this compilation of studies, even in the late stages, and you were asking me about this earlier, even in the late stages, they showed that ivermectin could decrease mortality by 40%. It's most effective if you actually take it as prevention. So people taking it twice a week do the best. And then the people that start day 1 or 2 or 3, they're the next best.
So that's established. We know that.
Well, it depends on who you ask, but yes, there's plenty of data supporting that.
So why?
All right. So again, I think we could bounce all over the place with this particular one. She is very much advocating for ivermectin being used, not just what you and I have talked about a lot, which is someone. Yeah. And we've had
with COVID,
different doctors. Different doctors we've shared clips of. Like if the one doctor, he says, if I get a tickle or a cough or I'm getting on an airplane, I'll take ivermectin. And you're not recommending people do that. That's whatever. But when you hear anecdotal things and these different people doing it that have seen compiling evidence in and of itself, and you've mentioned it multiple times, ivermectin is not dangerous.
Yes.
Especially whenever you have a controlled dose that is brought through pharmaceutical grade. To me, this is an exciting piece of this whole puzzle that we could potentially, because COVID and because of everything that was screwed up, something like ivermectin, the attention that the medical establishment, the media, how they badmouth people, that should tell you how good it is, because they're such liars that you just have to look in the opposite direction.
That's right. They're doing that. The way I found out about ivermectin was I ran across something that was reported from Marseille, France, and this physician had treated something like 6,000 people with ivermectin, and he had a very good recovery rate. People got better real fast. People didn't die. Yes, he had some deaths, but it was going well. And that's when I said, maybe I ought to be doing this. And about that time, there were 2 compound pharmacies here in town. They didn't advertise it, but somebody told me that they had ivermectin on hand. And I'd call them up and prescribe it. And they said, yeah, thanks, doc, because they made money on it too. That was back when enough ivermectin, if you were paying cash, enough ivermectin to deal with COVID, which is basically 60 milligrams over 5 days, they were about $110 back then. So they're much less expensive now.
I think I've got another ivermectin plug here just Yeah. Let me get this.
Not a plug, it's a reality.
Well, I like sharing things that I feel like people are gonna, because once you start talking about ivermectin,
think of it as a drug.
Once you start talking about it and you do any research online, your computer's gonna hit you over the head with it, right? I mean,
if you're using Google.
You use Google, well, even Twitter. I mean, Twitter. There's ways. I'm a marketing guy, so there's ways that they put trackers basically on every site. And if you don't have VPN or something on your computer or on your phone, it'll track you and it'll start hitting you with things. But this is a.
Oh, it does that all the time. It's funny. I think of something, and then it pops up. And I don't know whether it's reading my mind or what.
You probably said something at one time or another, and your device heard you.
Well, ironically, this Twitter video that I'm about to share is from Dr. Mary Tally Bowden, and whenever I put all these clips together, I'd heard this, and I didn't even put two and two together that I was going to be watching Tucker 2 days ago. So this was something that was already hitting me in the head.
What are your thoughts on ivermectin? What do you think of it as a drug?
This is pretty close to what Dr. Roy has with the box.
Very safe. I mean, I have a much more difficult time with antibiotics in terms of side effects. Side effects I'll see occasional diarrhea. I'll see occasional blurry vision, but it goes away when you stop taking the medicine. And that's for the high doses. I've given it to thousands of people, so I know I can attest to its safety. When I started using it, I went to the FDA's website to look into the toxicity data. That's where they submit toxicity data to the FDA before it gets approved. And there's a benchmark number called the LD50, and that stands for lethal dose 50. That's the amount of drug that you can give to a lab animal that would kill 50% of the lab animals. And the lower the number, the more toxic the medication. So the doses that we used for COVID were higher than what you would use for treating a parasite, but they were far lower than this LD50 number. So for COVID, generally we're using 0.4 milligrams per kilogram. And then the LD50, though, is depending on the animal, but around 25 milligrams per kilogram. So it's far exceeded. And the other thing I did before I started using it was do a literature search trying to find accidental and intentional overdoses from ivermectin. Couldn't find any studies showing that. Whereas if you go and look for Tylenol, you'll find hundreds, if not thousands of studies about Tylenol toxicity. So very, very safe. Safe enough that I think it should be over the counter because patients are basically going to the feed store to get it. So they're taking the animal version, which I think if the animal version were dangerous, we'd know by now. But still, I mean, we're in America. People shouldn't have to go to the feed store to get medication.
So there you go. Dr. Roy made the plug. He has it available. Dr. Mary Tally Bowden to me and the Tucker Carlson is a much watch episode. And I sent Dr. Roy. We sent Travis into a frenzy.
We did.
He's fired up. He is burning up the internet right now. I thought he was going to
go grab a rifle and
he's burning up the internet right now. It's
I can't find this. So anybody who's wanting to find this information, I can't find it. I can't find that 38,000 number. I'm looking for it hard.
You know why?
I'm finding,
dude.
So like everywhere I'm looking as of June 18th, 2021, this says total number of deaths 4,800 from COVID-19 vaccine. Yeah. Like that's not right, but they've
been so and Dr. Roy could probably tell this story better, and he's now researching. VAERS has been used for a very long time. The thing about VAERS, nobody really ever said it was a bad system as far as the results that it kicks out, but it takes so much time for doctors to get into it, and
it's a 2-page thing.
It's a time-consuming thing. So most people, they say like less than 10%. Yeah. Doctors will actually even put information in, and the fact that VAERS was saying 38,000, if you just do the simple math on that, only 10% are input. It's probably much greater than that. So why you're not finding it, I don't know what search engine you're using. Google has.
I'm actually on the VAERS website, and they make it super hard to try to find this information out.
Yeah. So,
but like Google and any of those places, they're only showing like 4,000, 5,000. Just not. It's not the right. And I want to get the right. I want to show proof, right? Like to people in the world right now online, and I'm just trying to get it, and I just can't get it. But anyway,
so yeah, we can. we got several different things that we can talk about. I've got all kinds of clips in all kinds of different directions. One thing that we really haven't talked about, but that has come up a lot, and it's come up for me, Dr. Roy, because I'm doing some research on osteoporosis and talking about because my wife has got some early warning signs of that, and don't be too far on that, because she hadn't really been tested. Yeah,
Turns out,
I talked to her about getting tested, because if she has the test for that, we'll know, and we'll know exactly how bad it is.
Yeah, we're not presuming, but you're the third doctor that told her to do that, and the other one was the doctor that treated her for her fractures. Because
I was the second.
Yeah. So I mean, she's had and everything that's kind of pointing in that direction is so. Yeah. No, we're not just going to take action, but this was a really good podcast too. There's what is it? I forgot the name. It's Dad Saves America or something like that is the name of the podcast. This is a really good clip. And this guy, I think he's working in the Trump RFK administration. And I'm on the fence about hormone therapy. And hormone therapy has been something that's been up and down. Mm-hmm. It used to be that it was medical doctors would make fun of it.
You're talking about sex hormones?
Women hormone therapy for for men and women.
Okay, you got to be careful, because there's a whole lot more people that are taking thyroid hormones than are taking sex hormones. Mm-hmm. So if you say hormone therapy is bad or hormone therapy is good. Yeah. Hormone therapy for thyroid disease saves lives.
Mm-hmm. Well, this guy is basically talking about, and again, I think he's inside he's Trump's FDA chief, Dr. Marty Makary.
That's the one she was hollering at.
Yeah. So this clip's pretty interesting here.
Real quick though, did you see the NCAA fencer who got in trouble? Okay, anyways.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she kneeled because she didn't want to go fight.
No, she got it blacklisted. Like, she got it beyond that.
Yeah,
they wanted her to fight a man. They're forcing her in to fight a man.
Well, I know. I saw the whole thing, and they did that to her, and I thought it must not be an NCAA thing, because NCAA has said no more men.
No, they haven't.
It was NCAA.
Yeah, they did.
It's
the government said that the NCAA is not following the federal.
It's sport to sport. It's not the whole NCAA.
Yeah, NCAA lost a $200 million lawsuit, I guess, and that was for swimming. So you would think that NCAA would put the squeeze on.
Well, I think that's coming. It's coming pretty rapidly, but I think it's not. This fencing thing wasn't it was NCAA.
Yeah, it was an NCAA sanctioned event. Yeah,
and it was just.
And she got some kind of in trouble for it, beyond just losing that match for which she shouldn't have to do that. But there's, I guess, a record. I don't know much about fencing, but they did something to where she had now on her record, quote unquote. It shows that she. It has nothing to do. What they got her for was that she wouldn't fence in an NCAA sanctioned bout or whatever you want to call that match. Okay, that she wouldn't fight, even though she was supposed to do that. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what this is for. It has nothing to do with the fact that she said no, I'm not going to fight a man. Right. It's that she's not doing it at all. But the fact that the guy was there to begin with is the problem.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I've seen women fencers who can beat men.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying that, but she was. Unfortunately, she was kind of trying to prove a point, I think, a little bit too, that she wasn't supporting that. But
100%.
Anyway.
All right. Here we go.
ApoB and lipoprotein a. Anyone who's going to have some blood work done, make sure it's added if you've never had this done before.
What's that all about?
These are the lipoproteins that indicate in a much more sensitive way than HDL and LDL, that suggest who is at risk of early heart disease. And it can help, if somebody knows how to interpret the results, help identify those who may need more aggressive therapy or treatment or studies to prevent heart disease than others. In the past, we use these very crude markers, and then people just, have a heart attack. All their tests were normal. We don't know what happened. Now we're finding out people who have heart disease in their 40s have a heart attack when they're 50. We go back, and it turns out their LP(a) sometimes was high, and it could have been tested before. These are tests that should be the focus of a massive public health effort. So these doctors who are thinking holistically, they're not cardiologists, but they're interested in cardiology. They're not nephrologists, but they understand, and they're intellectually curious. They're delivering holistic care. There's direct primary care that many employers are buying. And many of the ripoffs in the healthcare system can be averted by employers making better decisions on their health insurance and health benefits. I'm not talking about a low or high deductible plan. Swap out your pharmacy benefit manager altogether. That is a pay-as-you-go insurance that every company in America has a pharmacy benefit manager like they have health insurance for their employees. Now they're kind of sold separately, and you can swap out the rip-off PBMs using a good consultant and sign up for one of the many that are transparent, honest, and are not going to rip off. Most of businesses in America are getting ripped off by about 20 to 25% on their health benefits they pay for their employees. I'm not talking about unnecessary medical procedures. I'm talking about the middleman waste in the system and the spread pricing and the money games and rebates and kickbacks. Employers who are informed, and I've seen this, and I've helped some, can actually say, I don't want to get ripped off anymore. I don't want an insurance company that's going to rip me off. I don't want all this middleman waste. I don't want a pharmacy benefit plan that's going to mark up the drugs. I want honest, fair, transparent. You're seeing what Mark Cuban is doing. We think on our research team that half of all government spending at the federal level.
I'm pausing there. I'm sorry. That was not going exactly where I was trying to go with this. Here, I'm going to tell you real quick, I hate YouTube, and I'm going to get better at this, and I'll have it fixed for next episode. I do a lot of watching of these things on my phone, and it's not allowing me to share at a certain mark, and I completely missed that one. So I'm gonna restart here at a different timeline.
That have gone wrong in the modern era, and people still have it wrong in many instances.
Where are we getting it wrong the worst right now, in your opinion?
I think probably one of the biggest screw-ups of modern medicine was to demonize what we call hormone replacement therapy for women who go through menopause. If a woman starts hormone replacement therapy, that is estrogen plus or minus progesterone, within 10 years of going through menopause, they will on average live 3.5 years longer. Their rate of heart attacks gets cut in half. They alleviate many or all of their symptoms of menopause, which can linger for nearly a decade. And if they fall or are in a car accident, they're half as less likely to break a bone, and broken bones later in life result in immobility and a cascade of events.
Osteoporosis is a big challenge for women as they age, right?
That's right. And the most important thing in reducing the risk of osteoporosis, and by the way, for some reason, Black women don't get osteoporosis. It's exceedingly rare. Their bones are strong. It's interesting. But there's nothing more effective in treating osteoporosis than starting hormone replacement therapy for a woman when they start menopause or within the first 10 years of onset. And the kicker is the cognitive decline that is known to happen after menopause, typically 45 to 57 years of age is when a woman will start experiencing perimenopause. That cognitive decline, sometimes a short-term brain fog, sometimes it lingers, or an increased risk of dementia. But the cognitive decline associated with the postmenopausal period, that goes down by 50 to 60%. Wow. Women are more coherent and sharper. And the risk of Alzheimer's goes down by 35% in one of the major observational studies. These are in major journals. There's no...
Yeah, so Dr. Roy, I felt I didn't think that you'd seen this when I didn't share this clip with you, but
it's fascinating.
It's fascinating. Yeah. So it's another one of those things that I see it, I'm like, well, and he's Trump's FDA guy, so I'm not just saying let's just agree with him, believe him, and everybody get on this if they're in the menopause window. what I'm saying is this should open a lot of eyes. There should be even more money and research put in it. We should have data on it. We should. What are the offsets?
Well, he's got good data.
Yeah,
and he is bringing together a bunch of public publicists and putting them out there. It decreases your risk of heart disease by 40%. Yeah.
The interesting thing he said, and it kind of went a little bit against what you said, like to wait. I do, and I'm not. Let's not talk about my wife too personally here, but I believe she's in that window that he mentions, right?
Yeah.
So should we wait for a
barely.
test or
She's
whatever?
on the low end.
I mean, she should get the test anyway to know what's going on, but we're almost in that window where it's like
the test only takes like 20 minutes, and then you have a good idea of how bad it is. Because, for example, if all she needs is female hormones, that's easy to do, but that will not reduce known osteoporosis that much. So you're going to have to add something to the hormones there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess just this particular thing is a nuanced supplement to what you're saying is he's more of, rather than waiting until you have osteoporosis symptoms, be more aggressive whenever we know women are getting in this window, and let's be looking at this to start preemptively before there's really any.
And I agree with him totally on that. And I've got 2 patients right now that we're looking at.
Okay, well, let me share. I'll share this link with you, Doc.
Yeah,
I'll send it to you on Signal. And you can look at it a little more in depth. It's a fascinating, the whole interview. It's I think Dad Saves America. Dr. Marty Macri. Am I saying that right? Okay.
McFly.
McCary. Marty McFly.
Yeah.
You've been watching too much television, boy.
No, I haven't watched that. Well, see, Val Kilmer passed away, so I've been watching some Val Kilmer stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's a good one.
Yeah. Real Genius. I recommend anybody go watch. It's like a mid-'80s awesome movie.
Oh yeah.
Real Genius.
Yeah, it was really good. He was also, if you didn't see The Doors was...
Oh, he did great. And he did the singing to that.
I know.
He had to get out, the director and him, they had a bit of a fight, like a verbal, and he said, if I can sing and you listen to them both and you can't tell who's singing, let me sing it. And apparently he was able to sing. So it's actually Val Kilmer singing all that Doors music in that movie. I always like him in The Saint, too. That was one of my favorite Val Kilmer flicks.
I don't know that I've seen that one.
It's got, I can't think of
It's been a long time, maybe.
Elizabeth Shue is in it, and him.
Yeah.
And she's the one from Adventures in Babysitting.
Yeah.
If you remember that. I've shown a little bit of my age there, but...
That is old.
Anyway,
It's really old. You must have seen that when you were about 7 years old.
Actually, I probably didn't. I think it came out like 85 or 86. I don't think I saw it like firsthand. I think it was years later that I got to see it, but... What you doing over there, Chad?
I'm queuing up another clip here. Again, as I was traveling, it was just harder and harder.
I finally got VAERS to work, by the way, but I could only get it to show me about 24,000
deaths. They don't have
deaths.
internet in Florida?
No, it's my stupid phone and YouTube. It doesn't allow me to share clips. So like what I'm doing is like I'll have something interesting when I'm traveling. I got to solve this problem, but I'll take a picture of the time.
Yeah.
Because it won't let me share from. Usually I have the if you use Spotify, you can on your phone you can do share from.
Yeah.
The problem with using Spotify for Tucker is there's no video. It's just an audio, or it was. I don't know if it still is. But
have you tried web? Can you get on like web-based YouTube? Will it let you share from doing that versus using the iOS?
Yeah, but it's just not convenient. I mean,
it's not convenient. I know. I'm trying to help you with a workaround right now.
Yeah, I know.
This isn't IT Corner podcast or anything, but
well, you guys you can keep chatting.
I don't know
whatever.
what you got, Doc. You got anything to talk about?
Not right now, no.
Not right now. Yeah, I'll just wait. Dr. Patrick Swoon. So this was a really interesting. There we go.
Like I was saying, though, I got VAERS to kind of work, but I can only get it to show me about 24,000 deaths. So I don't know where the 38 is coming from, but I'm sure it's legitimate, the number, but I just can't get VAERS to report. And I'm not feeling. I'm trying to do it on a phone, and it's not the most intuitive thing to do. But
ready. So you could educate a T cell.
Okay, so this guy, did you? I don't know if you watched this particular. Are you watching all Tucker now, Roy?
Yeah.
Okay, So you'll definitely this guy
one
was
about the educated T cells. I watched the whole way
This guy
through.
is super fascinating. I highly recommend everyone watch this entire podcast. This guy is a gem, and he's talking. I mean, one of the things that you and I always have talked about from the onset is not just how can we doctor things whenever people break, but how can we be more preventative? And we're talking about food, we're talking about exercise, we're talking about getting out into the sun and blocking blue light and all these things. This guy is talking about
tobacco and marijuana and all that kind of stuff.
This guy is talking about some really interesting things, and he has a very unique experience. Highly recommend it. He was in all the COVID development, early stages of things, and he was in the middle of a lot of different things. And he has, it's a must watch, but we're going to listen to some clips.
Get into their cells. So that's why it gets in the pancreas. That's why you have brain fog, because it disrupts the blood vessels of the brain and causes mitochondrial dysfunction. It's why in the colon, which is a high, and the GI tract is a high ACE2 receptor. That's why pancreas is a high ACE2 receptor, where that's why you people have, in the heart, you have dysfunction. You've seen young people who have sudden heart attacks all of a sudden. You see young people with pancreatic cancer all of a sudden. You see young people with colon cancer all of a sudden. So is it by coincidence that post-COVID infection, post-COVID vaccine, we're seeing all these events where we know the spike protein goes there? I don't think so. I think it's not a coincidence. So the question is, can we prove, is this what I call long COVID virus persisting? And the group at University of California, San Francisco, has now definitively proven that and published that in papers like Nature. Can we also prove that once you have that persistence of that virus, does that COVID virus suppress the natural killer cell? Does the natural killer cell actually not only go to sleep, becomes what we call anergic? That's now been published. The natural killer cell has gone to sleep.
So by your definition, we just solved the mystery right there.
I think so. I think this is the conversation I had with the...
Well, but wait. I mean, billions of people, literally billions of people had the COVID virus. Over 1 billion got the spike protein vaccine. So that's like, we're talking like a huge percentage of the Earth's population, unless I'm missing something.
Now you understand what keeps me awake at night. And it's kept me awake at night for 2 years, 2.5 years. And that's why I sort of abandoned everything just to focus on how do we clear the virus. Because the answer is to clear the virus.
From the body.
From the body. The answer is to stop the inflammation. Because it's chronic inflammation.
Privacy should be a right for all citizens in this country. It's a
So, we are dealing with a disease that came from a lab that's engineered, and it's persisting over time. So this guy's focus, it has been how to get rid of it. We talk about ivermectin being a solution to help you get over the symptoms. Mm-hmm. People are talking about ivermectin as potential help for cancer, along with fenbendazole and some other things. There's all these different things, which is great. So the fact that if the shots and or COVID are making us sick, it's very important for us to have these conversations and to look to people like this that are the Dr. Bowdens, who are saying, if you get turbo cancer or you get these things, we're experimenting here but there's a rapid rate of turbo cancers and a lot of people are dying. Are you going to wait for the hospital to fix it, or are you going to start doing some things on your own? And I'm not suggesting people go out and do things on their own. Talk to a doctor, do your own diligence. This is the reason why you and I come to have these conversations every week. I think we could probably do a whole podcast just on this particular episode. Again, this is one of the things. I got like 6 clips from this guy. Do you remember the episode well enough to kind of like riff on what you think? I've got several clips here that I can queue up, but what do you think is from a high level, the most important things that he's talking about? Well,
I think they're all very important, and it it hit me hard when he was talking about the T cells and the fact that you can boost your T cells, and that makes a lot of sense for this.
Because your T cells are like basically with your mitochondrial. I mean, it's at that level, isn't it, where your mitochondria is able to fight?
Yeah, it's some, but T cells, they come from your thymus, and your thymus dies off when you're about 10 years old. It's up here in your chest, and it stops making new T cells. So the T cells, they don't make babies or anything. So the number of T cells that you have is pretty finite. So you need to do something that will stimulate the function of the T cells. And I think he's got some real good ideas here. They're admittedly they haven't been discovered, or you don't have enough energy or enough people to say that it's a good thing.
Well, I think...
sorry.
Go ahead. No.
I was just going to ask, isn't the T cell what HIV destroys?
Yes.
Isn't it? Yeah, and then you're open up to all kinds of infection.
And the fact that Fauci was involved with HIV and this virus does a lot of very similar things, or the shot. It's pretty nuts. I got another clip pulled up here, and we'll keep going on this guy because it's definitely worth
found
listening.
4 years.
Is there any reason to believe it'll naturally go away?
Not if your body's immunosuppressed. So it's a circle. You ask what causes cancer? Because your body's immunosuppressed. You have in your body nature's compound. And if the tumor or the infection or the inflammation suppresses it, you have to find a way to reactivate it and clear the virus. It's just literally as simple as that. And that's the missing link that I think
So it sounds like you're describing what could be like the worst human health crisis in history.
I don't know how to say that without saying it. It scares the pants off me, because I think what we may be, I don't think it's virus versus man now, right? This is existential. I think when I talk about the largest non-infectious pandemic that we're afraid of, this is it. Because while there was an increased rise in cancer in our country because of the idea of the toxins and everything else, this immunosuppression that has occurred now globally, and more importantly, the immunosuppression tied to inflammation, chronic inflammation, which is asymptomatic and sometimes it's not. There's 15 million Americans with long COVID. And they're not psychiatric when they have memory loss. They're not psychiatric when they have instantaneous heart attacks. It's not psychiatric when you have an 8-year-old, 10-year-old with colon cancer, a 13-year-old pancreatic cancer. So the idea was, is there a solution? And this is what, thank God.
Well, I certainly hope so. Because you've spent your life around scary diseases. Like, that's been your life. Yep. And if you're scared, then that's not a good sign.
I'm scared but hopeful. I think it's important for me to have this conversation with you, not just, that's why, okay, I'll share with you a conversation I had. I got invited by the CEO of the Henry Jackson Foundation to come to DC, I think October, November last year, during the election phase, and just to have a conversation about what I'm doing. And there he brought the leader from Walter Reed, the BARDA, the DOD, the NIH, the NIAID, all into that room. And it was just me. And I said, it is time. It is time for me to reveal to this learned group of leaders about what I'm scared about. And I spent, I think it was 3 hours, no slides, just me speaking alone on the stage and all of them in the audience. When I first started the conversation, the first sentence was, I think COVID is oncogenic. One of the members of the audience said, that's nonsense. I said, okay, let me explain to you what we've been doing in our research. At the end of 3 hours, 4 hours, he said, you've got to publish this. This is so important.
All right. Dr. Ryan, I'm putting you on the spot because I know we don't have any conversations about this in between podcasts.
Yeah, but I've already seen this.
Yeah. So I'm trying to get to the highlights of what I'm trying to pull out of this. What we're not being told, and we're I think a lot of people expect our healthcare industries and our health departments and the CDC and the FDA, we just expect that they're doing what's in the best interest of us and our health. And what this podcast glaringly put out in front of me is this guy basically was on the track to solving a lot of problems.
Right.
And he got excommunicated basically and pushed out of the work. They basically, he was on track to, I think, really help us through the virus or get over like his whole thing that he keeps using of clearing the virus. The problem that we're going to have is not just clearing the virus, but the whatever the the treatment that they call a vaccine is doing. And this is the type of people and the type of work that actually needs to get done to solve the long run problem, the long term problem.
Right. And, it really concerns me if he got, but if he was standing up in front of all of those guys and he said he thinks that COVID is oncogenic, meaning oncogenic, that it causes cancer. And the guy said, no, that's a lie. And at the end of 3 hours, the guy said, you need to publish all this stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think things are coming up. But it's really for the money. There's no money in healthy people. There's money in sick people. And there's not much money in dead people at all. So what the idea is to keep us sick the whole time.
So I've been wondering where the police or ambulance was, and it's actually out.
Yeah,
it is here.
We don't hear it as much because of the headphones. You're hearing it a little more because you're not covering your full ears, which is good for you. It's much healthier. Okay.
Anyway, sorry.
So what I was saying was that think about Bill Gates. Bill Gates has said that we really only need 500 million people on this planet. He wants to get rid of all the others. Mm-hmm. Well, what better way to do it than to throw something out like this?
That'll kill the elderly more. So I kill everybody, but kill the elderly.
Well, now we're doing the young. So
we're killing the young.
That's not the original. That's not from COVID though. That's from the COVID stick.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. He was talking about long COVID. He said there are 15 million people with long COVID. Mm-hmm. And basically what you have to do is something to strengthen their immune system and to get rid of the virus.
Mm-hmm. And it's naturally not leaving the body.
No.
So I'm going to skip forward some. I highly recommend everyone listening to this. And again, if we had 3 podcasts a week, I feel like we could probably really break down a bunch of these clips.
If somebody gave us $1 million, then we'd have 3 pods.
Oh, this is I keep trying to get a hold of people, man. I got several people that are saying, "Hey, I want to help out," but we haven't got to the money yet. But I'm going to play another clip here. It's a little more uplifting, and he's talking about RFK coming in and what he's hopeful is going to happen.
It's an English company. So what I'm saying is the fundamental problem, I think, lies at the FDA and even the NIH. So the change that Bobby's bringing in with Jay now being head of NIH and Marty being head of FDA and Bobby himself having the courage to stand up to talk both against the food industrial complex and the pharma complex, take on the Mercks of the world and the Pfizers of the world. I think we have maybe an opportunity, what I call a period of enlightenment. And really, I'm all about enlightenment. And if you look at the Sanjay piece, we are there now. So I want to actually send out...
Can I stop and ask you a question, though? So your position is that cancer, but not just cancer, all kinds of illnesses are caused by weakened immune system and inflammation.
It's all about the immune system. Your body functions, you live or you die by the immune system. The senescent cells aging is the immune system. The cells in your body that allow you to go to 100 years old, 120 years old, is based on the activity and the function of the immune system, because the immune system is what's regulating your healthy cells.
Can we just go through, I know this is not like patentable, this is not your business, but what are some of the obvious things a person can do to strengthen his immune system?
So you ask, what activates the natural killer cell? So
yes.
It's like, when you look at the leaf and you talk about apoptosis, and the leaf actually sits and goes brown, and it changes, but then it goes back up. So all of human nature, all of nature, is filled with this biology of this balance. So you're a product of nature. I mean, literally, you're a product of when you were a tadpole and a fish as we came out. So this cell is evolved since the Cambrian age. Think about that. This natural killer cell in your body. I published my first article in Natural Killer Cell in 1990. This cell was only discovered in 1970s. Think about that. And we've ignored that cell. This is what I call the missing link. I'm going to announce that at the American Urology Conference in Las Vegas in the end of this month. We have discovered, I've not discovered the missing link, we've discovered the awareness of this missing link and how to activate this missing link. So the idea is to activate the natural killer cell. It has 30,000 receptors on this cell. What this natural killer cell does, it replenishes itself with sleep. So sleep is important. It replenishes itself with light, with sunlight. And I believe there's a certain wavelength, the red wavelength in the sunlight, that it actually requires for it to be stimulated. So
this is why people get sicker in the winter.
Exactly. That's why Seattle has the highest suicide rate. Think about that, right? So these things, and if you look at the places like Norway and Sweden, where there's very little sun, Finland. So nature's all about light, sunlight. So that's why I think this is...
I like obvious observation. Nature's all about sunlight, of course. Plants don't grow without sunlight.
Right. And...
Well, so, I mean, this kind of circles right back around to Dr. Jack. It's all about the sun to him. And this guy, to me, out of all the people that I've listened to lately, he sounds very much like Dr. Jack does. They're very much in that same realm. So I'm really hopeful. He says Age of Enlightenment. He's another one of those guys that's under RFK's 3 of the clips that we listened to, he mentioned those same guys. So I think we have the dream team in place. It's just a matter of not allowing any more harm that we can allow. Like if we can avoid getting our kids mRNA vaxxed. And again, I want transparency on all vaccines. That's what RFK has said. That's why they tried to fight to keep him out. They said he was anti-vax. He's like, no, I just want to know what's in, and we need to really look at them, and we need to break them down, and we need to figure out what's needed, what's not. But it's guys like this, to me, that buck the system, that when we thought we're going to continue talking about the truth seeking, and he's writing a lot of paper, and he's doing all these things. He's definitely been added to my list of people that I'm paying attention to. So I promise to keep an eye on him and bring back, again, if you're going to prioritize podcasts, I go in and out with Tucker. Sometimes he has people on I don't really like, but he's been really on this health kick, and I'm really am enjoying that. where else do you guys want to roll? I got several other things that we can dig into here. I got some funny. Jesse Waters had a gain of function cover up story that was kind of interesting. Again, I don't really watch Fox News. My wife has gotten into watching it a little bit here recently. I don't know why. But when was this clip from?
Probably because she's bored.
I don't know if this is the one I want to. Travis, why don't you? What have you been into on the Facebook thing? Are you burning up? Are you posting on the mRNA over there?
Yeah, I was just kind of posting, seeing who's kind of going with me on it, and it's just I don't know how I didn't know, because I tried to stay on top of that. I don't know when that change occurred. I know I looked probably a year ago to make sure that it wasn't on there. Once again, because she just turned 7 last week, or actually this week, excuse me, Monday, and I just can't believe I didn't know it, and I just blew my mind. I don't know. Thankfully, we don't have a pushy doctor. He's very informative, or pediatrician for my daughter. He takes the time to explain things to us, and he won't do anything without our completely informed consent. And so I know that my wife and I wouldn't get, I don't want to say tricked into it, but I mean, her and I are on the same page. She's not getting that stupid thing. I just can't believe that it's part of it, and now there's probably a lot of people that don't really bless you, that don't really pay attention, or I don't want to say don't pay attention, but just kind of like you said, they just assume that the bless you.
Hey, can I sell you some ivermectin?
No. They just assume that that the doctor is going to take care of them, the FDA is going to take care. You say that my kid should get this, so I guess my kid should get this. I can't believe it's on that. It blows my mind that it's on that schedule. Like that, it's not a vaccine. It's not. I don't know.
Well, and there's all these things that when we're sitting here in this circle, and there's these different doctors saying these things that all the people that we've looked to and that we trusted, that have earned our trust over the past 5 years, they're all kind of resonating with each other and saying the same things, and yet our local health facilities, except for Dr. Roy, you can't get a doctor to have a conversation about it. It's just like you just put your head down and just do what you're told, and just whatever you get, you get. I don't understand how we do that. So this is a clip on Dr. John Campbell. Dr. Roy and I like him a lot. He's talking about potential cancer cure cover-up, I believe, in this one.
So he's got this. He's kept oncology patients alive for ages with it, incredibly. Some of his stories are quite amazing, how he's kept people alive for so long with this. He went to the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency in the UK, said, this is being used now, it's safe, it's effective. Will you please license this for therapeutic use so that doctors can prescribe it compassionately? And Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency refused his application. So there is a treatment that will upgrade upgrade T cytotoxic cells that will kill virally infected cells and probably kill a lot of cancers as well.
Those are the same thing as killer cells, what he was talking about.
I want that vaccine, but I'm not allowed it. And I think that's outrageous. Anyway, that was the first part of the interview there, just nearly all based on the conversation between Tucker and Dr. Patrick Sung, just with a few extra minor thoughts from me, but I've tried not to stray too far from what they've said. That's just the first part of the conversation. I'm going to look at the next part as well later. I didn't want to do too much now for two reasons. One, if I do too much, I'll start forgetting it myself. and the other thing is it'll just be too long for one video. But that was the first part. There seems to be an outbreak of immunosuppression, so there's been perturbations of the immune systems that are leading to these aggressive turbo cancers, often in young people. I know you're screaming out for answers. What happened in the lives of these people before the cancers developed? Well, that information is not collected very much in the UK. Hopefully, it will start to be collected now in the United States. So we might be soon in a position in the United States where we can make correlations between, I don't know, maybe a particular therapeutic intervention that these young people had, maybe in 2021, for example, 2022, and to cancer that's developing now in 2024, 2025. I know you're screaming out for answers on that. This interview can't give those at the moment. We can only give what you can. But we're hopeful that this data will be made publicly available so we can work out what the heck is going on.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's reiterating to me, Doc, what we're talking about with there's all these people that are starting to say things, and yet why don't we have more local doctors or more people that... I'm so curious about these things, and the reason why I'm so fixated on watching these podcasts, because I hear things like, you know, and Dr. John Campbell's watching the same podcast that we just ran a clip with Rogan, and no one is curious. No one. I don't understand how we've just become so numb to letting things happen to us. Like, we have unlimited access to the internet.
We were always numb to that. And it's inherent in our genome, and people just continue to do that. You know, not everybody else in the world is as smart as you are, Chad.
I know Dr. was getting tired. He would never say anything like that.
Getting a little delirious, Doc. We're getting a little delirious.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
I mean, you are going to be Judge Chad eventually, right?
No, like that was. I know. You're not going to lure me into that. That'll get me in trouble.
Okay.
You could do like Mike Ross does in Suits. You know, he just claimed to have graduated from Harvard, and
I stayed at Holiday Inn Express, so that's why I can do it.
I stayed at the Drury Inn.
You did with your dog,
with both dogs.
Now he's a doctor. No, I'm kidding.
Now he's a doctor.
No, he was before.
There's another podcast that I feel like, again, we've been gone 2 weeks, and I apologize for not being, I feel like I was a little unprepared this week for the clips, but there's a podcast with, on Rogan, and Rogan's kind of fell off my radar a little bit here recently because he kind of gets off on different things, but I highly recommend y'all listen to Dr. Susan Humphreys. On the Rogan podcast. She is talking a lot about vaccines. Again, I'm not saying she's 100% right on vaccines. I'm not saying I'm recommending anyone. I'm not a doctor. I can't recommend anything. Don't listen to me. She brings a lot of data. She brings a lot of stuff to the table that I feel like I'm going to dig back into that podcast and come back next week with some clips from that. I kind of want to end on something other than medical. And we haven't talked about Doge. We haven't talked about Elon and all the stuff that he's been taking. We haven't, most of the people that I really admire around me who I don't agree with politically on everything. Like, I've got a couple different attorney friends who we strongly agree on certain things. We strongly disagree on other things. And the conversations are fascinating. Most people who I recommend, who I know personally, and who we have friction on certain things, we're all in line with Doge. Like, no one that will come to the table and say and give me like honest conversation can give me a good argument against the Doge. And the Doge was created. The idea.
Go see Chuck Schumer.
Yeah.
He'll tell you everything that's Nazis.
It was
racist.
The original idea was created in the Clinton administration. We've talked about this. Obama brought it back up and he campaigned on it, and Biden was the head. It wasn't called Doge, but basically all Trump and Elon and this team did, which is mostly Democrats, has rebranded and called it Doge, and they're simply doing the things. The thing that we have now that they're actually doing is just putting database and connecting computers, and they're following the numbers to all these different things.
Yeah.
And I think what's happening...
They're taking the money out of the 120-year-old Social Security people.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I know that Elon Musk has constant death threats. His companies are under attack, all these different things that are going on. I'm gonna. We can end on some humor.
Well, per the debt clock, real quick. The Doge clock shows 280 billion so far. They've been able to trim. So
really,
just thought I'd share that. And that's where we're at right now.
Okay. What'd you say the number was?
280 billion. Actually, 280.5 billion.
Interesting. But, when you start, they changed these stupid things. They give me. I thought I had the clip to a Jon Stewart thing, and Facebook has mixed it up and made it. So I'm trying to end on some humor. Facebook. I'm trying to end on some humor here, and they're screwing up my links. Let's see if this is the one. Oh, I think this is a good one.
They know it's you, Chad.
I know.
Are you ready?
Hang on, maybe.
Start it over?
Yeah,
I've got it turned down right now, so can you read?
Hang on.
Here we go.
You got it turned up. Go ahead.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Last day of presidency. And hear me out. Okay, the last day he says, okay, I'm a woman. He's transgender, right? So now he's Donald Trump. Or sorry, she is Donald Trump. So the left has either the choice of accepting him as their first female president or admitting the hypocrisy of the entire transgenderism movement. I'd vote for Donald Trump. Okay, Donald Trump needs to identify as a woman on his last day.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
Well, so the why it's funny is you would catch the people that just argue that you mentioned the conversation about the dude that was in the fencing commentate. Well, he can identify as whatever he wants. Why can't Trump say, well, I'm now a female, and since I'm now a female, I want to run as female.
Run as a female.
But he'd be the same person, though.
No,
just a different gender. But
his name.
But it's still the same person. Like a president like Obama couldn't just be like, I'm going to change my name. So who are you to tell? Well, like my name's Travis, so I'm just going to go to my birth certificate, change my name to Joe, and now I'm a different person and I can run again. That's all I'm talking about.
Well,
Well,
I'd vote for Donald Trump.
It was a good try. It was a good try anyway.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I think we're running a little over 8 o'clock here.
Yeah, we've been at it for about 2 hours 25 minutes.
Yeah. So I have really enjoyed the feedback, and let me just tell you, you guys, we don't talk about who reaches out to me and the type of feedback that we're getting. There's definitely a need here that we're pushing into, and trying to take the things that are being talked about at a national level and bring them more to a localized conversation, to me, is what we're missing. It's bridging the gap from not everybody wants to watch Tucker Carlson or has the time to watch Tucker Carlson and to follow these doctors and to listen to the things that they're saying and to utilize them at the local level in our own families. And so what apparatus do we have if most families don't have time, energy to do that? We need to solve that problem. I mean, there's gaps in information. You'd learn something today about something that's very, very important that made you really, really mad, and you wouldn't have gotten that unless I posted a clip online and you weren't doing the podcast. I mean, you would have to happen upon it.
Yeah,
and
that's been told nowhere.
By then it'd be too late. And so, the truth-seeking apparatus piece of it is not just a brainchild that I feel like, I want to get famous on and make enough money where we can do this for a living. I would love for that to happen. But we absolutely have to address what the gaps are, and what we're not being told is the most important stories. Mm-hmm. And people say, well, it's national news. That's different. That's not important. I've had the owner of not owner, but a president of a local media company, television company, and say, well, you can't. You're doing different stuff, and local people don't want to hear that. I'm like, what do you mean? I don't even understand. It's more important than anything. Mm-hmm. I understand that people are interested if there was a fugitive on the run and there was a bang up shootout. People are excited to hear about that stuff, but what does that really do for anybody? I mean, by the time we hear about it, it's over with. So
I want to go stay in the same room as that dude over by the hotel. You remember that? The sheriff's deputy in
So they're arguing to me about, well, people don't want to watch that and we won't have enough viewers. I'm like, your viewership's dying. Do something different. Mm-hmm. And I think some of the local media companies are doing, some of the local news stations are doing a little better. they're doing a lot more young people out asking more important, better questions. So maybe we're pushing those people a little bit more, and I'm hopeful for that. But I'm grateful for you guys. Anytime you come up with something or see something, I'm not really some things I don't know if you watched them or not, so I don't know what questions to ask you. But if there's a particular clip or something that you think resonates, same with
Make sure you cross-reference it though, because he won't believe your first clip. You need like a second or third like angle that that a different person did the article on or something.
Well, the reason why I cross-check those things, I think it's relevant because a lot of the people that we trust that we're going to, all the signals are kind of aligning in the right spots. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's like
you're right.
When you see it enough times by the right people, then you're like, okay, this is important. And so
when are we no longer conspiracy theorists?
I don't have any conspiracies right now. I don't.
When they all come true.
I'm 38 to 0.
Do you have any fresh ones?
Not really.
Okay.
Any fresh ones?
Well, I'm really looking for something that we.
Hey, did we land on the moon? Has there been a man on the moon?
That's one of the ones of mine.
What do you say?
No.
I say no as well. What do you say? On the spot.
My gut says no. Elon says we did. So if he's proven a liar, then
Elon said we actually put man on the moon.
He's.
I don't know. I know he's trying to get us to Mars, but the radiation belt, human can't survive going through that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there.
And then how do we lose the technology from the set? Like my phone has more capabilities than the shuttle that got him there, but we can't get there again. Like what the hell? It's just
everything
it's
that
money.
And it was during a space race just to prove that we're better than Russia. And we just need to be able to say that we were. So we did it. We beat you, Russia.
I would say I'm 90% that it was propaganda.
Yeah.
And 10%.
I used to be the other way.
10% just because.
Part of my theory is that we didn't land the first 2 or 3 folks up there, but we might have gotten somebody up there towards the end.
They would have died from radiation death, though.
I don't think so.
Look up the Kyber radiation belt.
Yeah, there's a big unknown there. That is actually a thing. The other thing that we were going to talk about and we lost time on it was the JFK files. We didn't really have any. We didn't have any real debate on that, and the Epstein-Diddy list has just disappeared again. So, my big conspiracy that I have that I am holding on to is all of those names are tied together. The names that are on those lists, those people are compromised at many levels.
Yeah,
and they're the ones that are let in on certain pieces of secrets, and they're the ones that they get propped up to tell us what they want us to hear and what they want us to believe, and they're just the leaders. So
they're really the ones running the show.
Well, no, they're not. The ones that are have bribed these people are the ones running the show, and there's those people in the shadows that you never. This is so the original conspiracy that I have. It goes way back to an Alex Jones conspiracy, and it was a Bilderberg group. And New World Order. So he would talk about New World Order a lot, and then Bush 1, I think, talked about it, and then all of a sudden it went off the radar. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the group never stopped meeting.
No, it's still there.
So it's it went into the WEF, and so all these people are kind of cross mingling and doing all these different things. But there absolutely is an order of some sort that are controlling most everything. I firmly believe that. They're definitely in that. That one podcast that you got up and left because it was going on too long.
Yeah,
with the DOD being a part of the whole vaccine rollout. There's something there. There's something in the CIA. There's something in the Israel connection. There's all these different things that people can't talk about. When the things that they can't talk about are the things that are like.
I still got stuff I can't talk about, but.
Well, you got to talk about it at some point.
Is there like a statute of limitations on that or anything, or is it just until you're dead?
Well, I'd rather not talk about them. Let's just say that.
Can you do a private video and save it in an archive, and then the day
upon his death it gets released or something?
Whenever you fall out, that I get a file sent to me.
Yeah,
I can help you set. I can help you set that up. I can set that up.
I'll do that.
What's your middle name?
M.
The RMA files.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds like it's legit.
That would be juicy. I do definitely want to hear all your military stuff that you haven't been able to tell us.
Well, I've told you most of the military stuff. I've told you stuff that I found out. I knew about the stealth fighters and everything a long time before it was out, and I just couldn't talk about it.
Who's that guy that goes on Rogan that talks about working on the alien ships and figuring out their propulsion systems and stuff? There's
Stephen Greer. Dr. Stephen Greer.
Yeah, Dr. Greer, yeah.
Yeah, and I can't put my finger on him. I don't know if he's real or if he's an asset.
You think?
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's said a lot of stuff and he's promised a lot of stuff, and then stuff doesn't happen.
If you guys don't watch Ancient Aliens on this History Channel, you are missing a lot of the conspiracy.
The pyramids.
We haven't talked about the pyramid thing. Yeah.
The fact that
what they
they've got
found
big
underneath
things underneath pyramids.
Yeah.
How many kilometers?
680 meters or something.
Yeah.
They go down. However many of them.
So 8. There's 8 of them in groups of 2, I believe, and then they've got those large. Like concrete pads that they kind of go into each one. There's 4 of those, and 2 go into each one, I believe is what they said.
Right.
If I remember correctly.
Did you just say concrete pads?
I did say concrete pads. Whatever. Concrete, like not concrete, but like stone that those go in. I don't know what you want to call that. What are you making fun of me for when I say concrete pads?
I'm not making fun of you because
I don't know what it is.
No, well that's what I'm trying to get to. It's like I
wonder if they're going to try to dig down.
The pyramids are an advanced civilization.
There's levitation. They talk about levitation probably being part of it.
Gravitational stuff or something going on there.
Well,
they were called the Levites or something.
A lot of the old stuff, you figure, how in the world did they do this? And the people now today said, well, people from the sky came down and did this for us.
Yeah, well, that's what a lot of the hieroglyphs and
what
stuff.
do they call the Nanuks or the
Anunnaki?
Anunnaki.
Yeah. Well, we lose people when we get too deep into those weeds because that's a whole different.
Hey, Stargate SG-1 was real. No, it wasn't.
Our buddy David, the Goose guy, doesn't like talking about the Anunnaki people.
Well, we're going to name that Goose David.
Dave the Goose.
Put a little plate around it that says Dave.
I'll call him Dave every time I see him.
Hey, Dave, what's up?
What's up, Dave?
Anyway, that's kind of wild. But
we definitely need to come up with some new conspiracy theories that we can try to prove.
I can see there's another scientist who's been on Rogan who talks about a lost technology of levitation, and that's probably how they knew how to levitate. Like legitimately, it was science. Somehow that's been lost over the multiple generations of peoples or what have you. But apparently there was a group of people called the Levites.
Levitites.
And that's where they got levitation.
Yeah. And that's where and so they kind of
the Levites are listed in Exodus as the only people who can touch the Ark of the Covenant.
Ark of the Covenant, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, was that a rumor? I heard that there's been confirmation that the Ark of the Covenant that was fake.
Yeah, it's fake.
Okay. That was one of those somebody said.
The Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia now, and it's guarded by one person who never leaves.
Who could never leave, and then after they die, a new one is appointed,
and he never leaves.
Yep.
Wow.
So yeah,
some tribe or something down there. I saw something about that.
And
whether it's real or not, I don't know.
He won't let you in to look at it, but he'll tell you, yes, it's here.
Another thing that went away. I remember when they were talking about auditing Fort Knox.
Yeah,
we were talking about going
because that's because the gold's not there. There's no gold there.
Fizzled away. Where'd that go?
There is no gold.
Yeah, there's probably no gold there.
But
they'll probably get there. They just haven't been able to get to all the departments yet. I bet
so. My biggest disappointment probably is I expected everything to just roll out, and it happens overnight. And I understand
that's what happens.
That's not reality.
There are all sorts of government red tape to get through.
Oh yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's why making a smaller and smaller government makes it less and less red tape. We can just keep hammering that stuff away.
That's right.
I wanted to say something. I thought one more thing about Elon. Okay. So just something for us to keep our eye on. I have been very supportive of Elon, and I have been supportive of Doge, especially. Not really an electric car fan. I don't like the China connection and the batteries, and I think I don't understand the technology as far as the raw materials that are needed to support the technology. I don't know how that happens. I can't put my head around that. What I will say, and what I've promised myself, and what I'm going to make on air tonight, is even though I help and I think I support people, like I supported Trump much more this time than I did the last time, I'm looking him more like the enemy. And just to keep my raw, natural, like that.
So you don't have rose-colored glasses or anything?
Yeah, I don't. You know, I just want to keep. You know, if I get to the most powerful person in the world, I mean, you're the absolute corrupt. You know, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Right.
And Elon definitely is higher positioned than Trump in that regard, just in his wealth generally, his technical ability and his knowledge of AI and the path that he's going there, the robots. I mean, he really could turn into a bad force. I mean, someone with
he just needs a bald cat to sit and stroke while he's in the chair.
Well, I mean, and again, so I'm saying I love the guy, right? But I've asked him a lot of times on Twitter. I'm like, I'm trying to get him to turn over basically Twitter into a not civilian owned, but definitely a civilian audited AI. Meaning he has a team of people that are basically testing the thing and showing weaknesses and showing where it lies and fixing those things to the best of the potential, because it still does pull stuff off the internet. It still does, pull content that is not right. And so it makes mistakes, and then people make decisions off of that. So, I mean, I feel like it's one of those things he could use that to his advantage if the content that they allow on Twitter only supports the narrative that the one person or the team of people support. It would be a different form of censorship than Google. So Google is saying we can't talk about ivermectin and if the COVID shots are good or bad. He's just saying different things.
We can't talk about it,
you know,
and they're bad.
Yeah, this this episode will probably get removed from YouTube, and I think I got another strike that I can garner, which is fine. So anyway, I think we can wrap up for the day. I appreciate you guys. I will come. I'm not going to be traveling this week, so all my clips will be much cleaner because I'll do it on my desktop. You and I need to talk about something real quick after the podcast about getting some clips out. Okay. But everybody, I appreciate you. Appreciate you, Doc. Appreciate you, Travis.
Appreciate it.
Take care, gentlemen.
Until next week.
Good deal.
See you
later.
Love you all. See you.
Bye-bye.